Hey, hey, people. Emery and I here.
Good morning, good evening.
Yeah, indeed. Good morning, evening, whatever it may be. For me, it's evening. Um, Emery asked how I was. I slept okay, but I didn't sleep enough. I'm a bit tired. Hey, Chief, why?
That's the
Welcome.
problem, huh?
Yeah, it is. But I cooked today, so I'm feeling happy.
Ooh,
Been a while since I've done that properly. I just thought I should. So, a
good idea.
quick update about things, people. Trek is sadly ill. They have no voice right now because of flu or whatever. We hope it's not the coof, but I assume it wouldn't be. Trek takes that seriously. Um,
Hopefully, it's just a quick bug.
yeah, Trek has been doing a lot of yard work in the cold and rain, which was
Mm,
necessary. So it's probably just a cold. Um,
more than likely.
so due to that, and because we wanted to have three people to tackle the monstrosity that is Prime Directive, we have decided to change topics for today and do a bit of a early campaign talk. And yeah, that was Emery's idea. So Emery, what do you have in
Like,
mind?
well, frankly, the reason that I got onto that today was due to the fact that starting new campaigns is difficult, and I was looking through my history with the old. I always get this guy's name wrong. I always say Metzner, but I think it's Menzer. The
Oh
old
yeah,
Frank Menzer basic set, uh, expert set, companion set, and master set. Which, man, I wish they did those. So many people take issue with kind of that tiered gameplay that D&D has, explicitly because you're not taught tier 3 and 4. So many adventures stop at tier 2.
that I certainly agree with. Yeah, and it is a problem that the added complexity. Um,
Mhm.
oh, oh, you're hosting us here. Thank you,
I did.
Archers Emery, for hosting.
He-
What a nice, pleasant guy that is.
I hear
Uh,
he's pretty all right.
yeah.
Yes, by the way, this is one of my favorite things. This is a wandering monster table from an adventure that is massive. It is called In Search of Adventure.
hmm
It is a 9 booklet set from the B series set, which is the D&D basic set. This includes, oh man, it includes In Search of the Unknown, which is really good. The Keep on the Borderlands, which is one of my favorite adventures. Palace of the Silver Princess, The Lost City, Horror on the Hill, The Veiled Society, Rahatia, which is the monster table that you have right now.
hmm
Journey to the Rock, and Castle Caldwell and Beyond, which are all excellent. Takes up 160 pages.
Okay.
Big old boy.
I know Little Keep in the Borderlands because I think people of my
Mm.
generation will. And so, just real quick, thank you, Aeolus VT, for the follow. Um, so, I will say, just to get back to tier 3 and 4, just for a second before we
Mm.
start on this,
Oh yes.
I certainly agree that the higher levels are a bit underrepresented in helping in help because the complexities just get
Mhm.
huge. Um, I
Because
think I
with
think
that
the
starting adventure mentality, teaching people how to play the game is the game's major job. Extended
yeah,
play is a big deal, but if you don't teach people how to do that, how to run those adventures, they're not going to know.
indeed, yes, true, true, true. I mean, these days you can get a lot of mileage out of looking here and there for tutorials.
Mhm.
But even that, I think, is no substitute for doing it yourself. And the best persons you can find online who will tell you do this and that, run this and that. They can't possibly tell you everything, and it is always going to be a matter of actually doing it.
Yeah, you have to look for that uh, kind of those tutorials and then take them with a grain of salt. So a lot of that is your own driven motivation to run these higher tiered games, which a lot of people just get tired of. I think a content creator that I follow once said that it's almost the cyclic loop that by the time you're high level, you kind of miss when you had a grappling hook, and that was important. And when you're low level, you want to be high level so you can do things like teleport to the White Chapel, things like that.
Yeah, that's always the grass is green on the other side. Well, I want to say
Hmm.
hello everyone, hello Chief, hello Azure, hello Haru. And hello, Standard Ant. Glad to have you here.
Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour.
Yes, yes, yes. It's a bit of a grass is greener situation, you know. You're always pining for what you can't have.
Hmm.
But in a way, it's also, yeah, you just. I think that's the problem with D&D in particular, or other games where magic becomes super powerful. One little
Hmm.
gnome also, hi. Um, in
Hello,
that
no.
eventually your grappling hook, if you are the rogue, for example, climbing walls, the grappling hook, you see, yeah, we can let the rogue climb the walls, but let's just levitate. It's easier. And then half your class is kind of pointless. I mean, not really, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, your adventurer's kit no longer
Yeah.
becomes something that's important. I would say I kind of level a little bit of that on to build crafters, which I do myself, but I try to rein it in as much as possible. And again, build in tiers because you adventure in tiers. So if something's not going to go past level 10, a level 20 build calculator is not going to help you. Or
True,
people who
true.
make these
Yeah.
incredibly complex things that people go, oh, I want to try that out, but the build doesn't really come online until level 12. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah, I find I'm not really want to go for, planning out my character
Hmm.
hugely. I mean, in 5e, I find that it's just, for me, it's usually the easiest to just stick with the class
Pretty
and not
much.
really worry about it. I know there's stuff you can do with 2 levels of fighter, then take paladin, then maybe get hunter's mark from a bit of ranger and whatnot, and I don't know what else to really make your max damage super max as a paladin. But who cares, right?
Really, when it comes down to it, your class choice should speak to your character's experience and what they're doing. So if you're going to multi-class, it should make sense. I really
Yeah,
like the idea of I'm a rogue, but I was chosen by this goddess to be their champion, and now I'm a paladin or a cleric.
that's a classic.
That's really cool stuff.
Oh, so and since Drake is ill, we are talking about let's say campaigns, how to set them up and stuff. Which we might have done a bit with Drake already, but not with Emery. Yeah.
Mhm.
And but what's behind us there at the projector? She kindly wrote down. That's a random encounter table from an old school D&D adventure.
Yes, that is from that, as we talked about, the big old adventure in search of adventure, which plays out very strangely. It has like a flowchart for which adventure is going to be next. Uh, this is also set in Mystara, which is a classic D&D world on the same level as like Greyhawk or and I just forgot Dave Arneson's Blackmore.
Blackmore, yeah, indeed.
Blackmore. So Mystara is on kind of that same level. I think that was also done by Hickman. I think that was done by Hickman, who
Mm.
did uh I don't remember. Dragonlance. Nah, it may not have been. I don't remember. I know Hickman did Rahatia though. Hickman did do Rahatia. That's actually what got him hired at TSR. Was selling that adventure. But anyways, so classical starting adventures. Nura, do you have an inbox adventure that you really like?
I do
Because I have a
not.
bunch of them.
I do not. As
Oh,
I've said before on this show, I like to do my own stuff.
that's true.
Um,
That's
I
true.
will say, um, this is not really there's so much an adventure as a choose your own adventure book for that one terrible German RPG.
Mhm.
And they did one really good one, which was a choose your own adventure. You made a character obviously in their system first, but they were always an elf, and then they hired a really good writer to just write out how an elf in that world would react to stuff and feel like. And that
Sounds
gave you
really
a
cool.
really good, yeah, this elves, you would like him. It's a really cool way to introduce their mindset to us. I have no idea what that is called or if it's even available in English. So it's
Mhm.
kind of besides the point. But you could start as either an elf from the far north, from the ice caps basically, or from the enchanted forest, or from half of civilization, so to speak. And then you
Hmm.
just go out and explore because the call to adventure has grabbed you, which is literally a thing there because they are kind of fake creatures as well, and some of them just want to wander.
Oh, that
And
sounds really cool.
and then you could actually die in that adventure of hunger if you did stupid stuff because nature is not a nice mistress and stuff. And
I
you
like
could
that.
find cool things. You could, and I've done that. I've read that a few times in my life, just because it's really good. It's really evocative. And I'm sorry I can't really put it on screen. It's all in German. I have no idea if it ever came out in any other language. Makes no sense. And Ruka, hi, welcome. Daisy as well. Hi.
Hello.
And as for Standard End, grappler builds, that's always a big meme.
Grappler builds can be so good though.
They can be good,
They
yeah.
get so good.
I'm
I'm playing one right now.
Very important, I would say, if you do that, have friends in melee as well. That's half the point.
Mhm.
Because you
Yeah.
give everyone advantages, which is of course really good. So it might sound a bit weird, a big bad comes, you put him into a headlock, and then the paladin crits them for massive damage, but that's valid. That's a good build.
Oh yeah, you put them in the full rear naked choke, and then
Yeah.
you like really do a huge back bend on them, and then they get them right in the belly. That's a classic. Good classic. That's a good barbarian
very
move.
much, I very much encourage you to take Tavern Brawler, because then you can sock someone there in the face for D4 and get the grapple for free.
I would recommend a different build, however. If you were playing a fighter, I would recommend grabbing the unarmed fighting style from Tasha's, and then get the grappler feat. Because if you are a battle master, you can just get grappling strike and do the same thing with additional
I need
with
to
an
look
additional
up
bonus
the
to your athletics.
feat, because I don't remember that.
Grappler allows you to pin someone after you have grabbed them.
Oh yeah, right. You need this as well. The thing about with Tavern
This
Brawler,
is so good. And it also gives you advantage on them.
yeah. Thing with Tavern Brawler, you want both of these. I remember now. Yeah. The thing with Tavern Brawler is, okay, firstly it gives you con. Who cares? You might care, you might not. Improvised weapon, that's just fun. That's low level fun.
But everyone is already. The problem is they put out an adventure that made everybody proficient with improvised weapons, so Tavern Brawler became halfway useless.
Okay. Well, you don't have to. In either case, this is just flavor, essentially.
It's a flavor.
Hitting
It's a
someone
good
with a chair. This is hitting someone with a chair without disadvantage. You can just say, no DM, I can do that. This is D4. Okay, that's nothing to write home about. That's early level monk shit. But this is cool, because normally a grapple is an attack, and in this case you can still do your normal attack, maybe do damage, D4 plus strength, not that bad if you're a grappler, I guess. And then you can also grapple for free with your bonus action, which is...
This is why I push the Battle Master, because they now have the grappling strike deal, which allows you to grapple as a bonus action with your Battle Master stuff. And the unarmed fighting style is just a better use of your feet. It gives you a D6 / D8, depending on whether or not you have your hands free or not.
I can't find grappler.
So if you have one hand free, you get a D6.
Did they call it something else?
What do you mean?
This doesn't have all the...
Oh, this is 100% the Battle Master, because they have all of those cool maneuvers and such. But the unarmed fighting style is really, really slick. Plus, you do a D4 of damage every turn that you start a grapple. So, like, you grab somebody, and at the start of every turn, you do a D4, so long as they're grappled. So, with the grappler feat, you can just push them to the ground and hold them down there, and just do a D4 as you just choke them out and beat their face in. Super good.
I bow to your superior grappling knowledge.
The only reason I know this is because I'm playing one literally right now.
Fair enough.
And you can ask Gnome. I did, I think, like 24 damage on a grappled opponent that I was holding down.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I did this. I did my Tavern Brawler thing. That's from a while ago. Ayolos, thank you for the host.
They are very fun. I think grapplers are really fun.
Yeah.
They're just a grand time.
And indeed,
so
it's one of those things where you can also ask yourself, do I want to play that at tier 4? But maybe you don't. Maybe this is a bit of an early game thing, but yeah, why not?
Yeah. I mean, if the game's going to peter out at about 12th level anyways, it's not going to matter. You're going to get your big fighter attack if you go straight fighter, and then you just
I would say
do the full punch combo.
If a game starts at tier 3, which would be level 10 plus, right? Yeah. 10 to 15. Then it's maybe not the best choice of stuff. But if it starts at 1 or 5
maybe
or whatever,
then you kind of variate it.
Then for sure, I mean, let's be fair. You can say, yeah, this game is planned for tier 1 and 2. Chances are it's not going to last that long. I'm sorry to say. A lot of games, you have to be lucky to find a game that because it goes the distance. Which is just no knocking on anyone. It's always just a
No, it
matter
just
of
happens.
real life happens
It
indeed.
happens, especially when like burnout happens and somebody goes like, "Look, I was really into the story idea, but now, it's kind of wearing thin." And that's where you have to almost do like image training with your campaign,
Oh yeah.
when you're getting into a fight to get into that mentality, you have to think about what your opponent's doing. You almost have to think about your story in that way. Like, am
Oh
I going to be
yes.
wanting to run this when my players are level 13 and we've been doing it for this long? By the way, I think levels 10 or 12 are the most dropped levels in the
Yes,
game.
yes, yes. I agree. I think that's also where the magic shifts. You can stomach the
Mhm.
mage having fireball or whatever. At that point, you
Yes.
start getting into teleports pretty soon, or some way of just trivializing a lot of stuff in one
A
way or
lot of
another.
travel and
Yeah.
such. Yeah. That's why I like low level games. And I like wilderness travel. I like hex crawls and dungeon crawls and all sorts of
Oh
things like
yes.
that
Oh
that are
yes.
that are travel based. I know I'm in the minority on that now.
I will
That's not really how
say
people do it
I will say, seeing.
anymore.
Let me just talk about since
Mhm.
it's up on
Please
the
do.
screen the whole time.
Mhm.
About random encounter tables. Firstly,
Yes.
one thing I think we will agree on is that the formatting with these gray bars is not great.
It's not very good.
Because
Then again,
this
yeah.
should go down to more lines because this is the same
Mhm.
monster and so on. It's
Yes.
a This is
Mhm.
just small stuff. I don't, this is not the fault of whoever wrote the table.
Mhm.
Most likely, it's most likely someone in editing not really doing their job.
Yes.
Um, if you give a novice DM such a table, in my
Mhm.
experience, what's going to happen is, okay, let's roll. I have a dice here. Hey,
Mhm.
we have rolled a 6. So, Siva guards, Siswa guards show up. 1d6 plus 1. I don't have a d6. Let's just pretend this is one. Okay, we have 3 guards.
Mhm.
Um, and they have these stats. And now, because the guards show up, it's a fight. It's just immediately a fight. That's in many new DMs because they just don't consider that, well, there's a lot of more going on before you get
Mhm.
there, right? That's one of my problems
Exactly.
with random encounters when I'm a player,
That's that's true, but my response to that is if you get a contradictory encounter, that doesn't mean that these creatures are all on the same side. I like in Lost Mines of Phandelver when you're doing your or Lost Mine of Phandelver. I always say mines, but there's only one mine,
Eh, maybe the other one
and
is
it's
more
mine.
lost, It's so lost you don't even know.
So yeah, I know, right? So when you roll, say, I actually I have the encounter table right here, which is, by the way, I think it's a really good one. It's from the Spider's Web. I love this random encounter table. I'm going to send it over to you just because I think it's fun.
Yeah, sure. Put it on Discord, then
So
I
you
can
get
just click it.
you get different roles for whether it is day or night, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
important. I
I,
really
I,
like that.
I agree there.
So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna grab my dice and I'm gonna roll one up.
Okay.
Let's go. So day roll D12. This is during the day. My desk was cocked. So I got 6. So that's goblins. We've got
Okay.
goblins. And an ogre.
Hmm.
That's cool. These guys can definitely vibe. So 1d6 plus 3. So we've got 6 goblins and an ogre. More than likely, if I was going to do this, I would say this would be something like an ogre or an ogre howdah, the guys with like the big fort on their back.
Mm-hmm.
And this could just be a squad of goblins with their little roving tower. But let's
Yeah.
say just for the sake of D&D argument, uh, that we had rolled an owlbear. And this is 6 goblins and an owlbear. Now, it is completely possible that these goblins encountered this and said, "You know what? We can take that guy." And now they're beefing, and you have just stumbled upon these goblins fighting this owlbear.
So let me ask a few questions
Mm.
here before I
Yeah,
comment.
go ahead.
Firstly, is it intended that you roll twice, and then both always show up, or did you do that for yourself?
I usually do that. I
Okay.
I usually roll 1 or 2 just
Mm-hmm.
because I want to make bigger encounters. If you roll just once, so I always feel that there should be a roll twice option on literally any table.
Okay. The question I asked
Mm,
there should be obvious,
mhm.
right? Because
Yeah.
you have to have thought of that with experience as a
Mhm.
DM to do that. Because a normal player would
Mhm.
just be like, hey,
Oh yeah, they'll just roll once.
I roll once, and then the
Yeah.
goblins appear, or the old bear appears, or the wolves, or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, which is obviously that's good because I agree. You can make encounters, random encounters. Absolutely, you can make them interesting. My point why I don't really like them
Mhm.
that much is that per default, if you just go by table, any table,
Yeah, you're just going to get a very
it's
standard encounter,
yeah,
but
you're right. That is yeah.
I do have one but, and it's a decent one. So
If not better, yeah.
even with a single roll, I think that a basic encounter, a boring encounter, that is almost an issue with how you are taught about D&D. I would actually go to the first encounter in Lost Mines or Lost Mine. So that first encounter is only 3 goblins. They are ambushing you on a road, but they're ambushing you with the dead bodies of horses from previous people who had come by. So that's already a little diorama. It's telling you something about how the world works
Mm-hmm.
and uh, how these goblins act, what they do, and it's a plan. It's a small section of the world that you are showing to the players. Again, a diorama,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that you learn in stage direction or just a writing course or a film course, and that's all stuff that you learn on that kind of
I have
creative level. That I feel that you can teach to new GMs much better.
I have an easy counterpoint. Um,
Hmm.
if it's a planned encounter that you just described, it's not a random encounter you rolled for, is it?
That's no, that is a planned encounter. That is the
Yeah,
first thing that happens in that
yeah.
adventure, which is why I
And
don't care about spoiling it.
fair enough.
Mhm,
My point there, obviously, um, planned encounters. This is actually the thing they should be doing. It's totally fine to be like, oh, let's roll on this table. Oh, Black Widow spiders appear. Okay, D3. They have 2 Black Widow spiders. How do I make this
mhm.
interesting? If that's your next question as a DM, perfect. I'd have
Yeah.
no problem. Because obviously you can use this to your advantage instead of going through, oh, monster manual, 300 pages, let's rock. Let's see what's in here that I can use. You can just be like, yeah, let's roll for it on the table that someone else has curated, hopefully, to make sense. And then you put more work in to make it interesting. But the times I've played this, there's a few times when a
Mhm,
DM pulls a table out. Firstly, you have blindsided them and they don't know what to do.
mhm,
um, secondly, they just feel like it's necessary. Like, oh, we're traveling, I must roll.
mhm.
That is, I feel the worst one. I can forgive being blindsided and needing a fight to figure out what you need to do next. That's fine. As
Yeah, that's
I've
that's
done that.
fine.
Um, but feeling the need to do it just because it says in the book, yeah, you should be
Yeah,
rolling. That's not good.
that's not good. That's cargo cult thinking, and we always avoid that. So with those spiders, I think that's really interesting that your first thought is, how do I make this interesting? Because I think that the first thought, even before that, or maybe it's a non-thought, maybe it's something that you internalize over running the game. What are they doing? This deep
Absolutely, yeah,
spiders, what are they doing?
yeah.
And how do you make that interesting? More than likely. So as I'm looking at this table, the first thing I see is giant rats. They stuck out to me. So more than likely
Mm-hmm.
to me, this wilderness rat got grabbed. Maybe you're down by a stream and it's a water rat. They exist, by the way. They're very big and very scary.
Oh yes,
So maybe these spiders pounced and snagged this water rat, and they're down by a little babbling brook eating a big old rat.
yeah.
You can
Quite
ignore
possible.
that, by the way, because players they might be able to just sneak by these spiders.
Yeah,
However,
yeah,
the spiders
indeed.
might want a warm meal.
Yeah, water rats. I guess wouldn't taste very good.
No,
No. Yeah.
they're pre-cold, they're pre-chilled.
Yes, indeed. Let's see. The spiders steal the player's equipment at night. That's if
I
the
love that.
I do love that if the spiders are smart spiders. If they are just
Mhm.
animals, which I would kind of assume these are, it makes no sense why they would steal. Why could they could steal the horses, for example? If
Maybe
they
they
are,
just snag the whole
I mean,
players.
I assume these aren't just normal black widows. I assume these are big. Do they have hit dice? They have 3 hit dice.
Yeah, their hit
Yeah,
die is
they
3.
they
Yeah,
would be big. Yeah, this is a man-sized spider. This is
this
something.
is a big spider.
Yeah, they would eat the horses most likely. That seems easy.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah,
Um, which
that would be
is
really that would be really solid. I think it's funny, players get really, really attached to their mounts.
Yeah.
And every time it's like that's the real big kicker. If you have a big battle and you want your players to like feel really bad, all you need to do is have the hobgoblin captain wind back and chuck a javelin and just hit your horse square in the heart.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't like it. um, I'm
No,
for
but
one.
you need that big emotional hit. I love doing stuff like that.
I'm
I think that the more an adventurer is tested, whether it's through just their metal or their martial ability, I think that's good stuff.
I agree. My point is more that as an experienced player in D&D, I kind of know my horse has at most like 20 hit points if we are
Hmm.
being very generous. So it's not long for
Yep.
this world, depending on what happens. If there's a 5 level wizard showing up with a fireball, my horse is dead. It's very simple.
Depends on if you have mounted combatant or
Yeah,
not. And if
but
you have
no,
mounted combatant, then you're good.
yes, sort of, but no one really
Mhm.
takes that. And if you do
But it's
take
so
that,
good.
yeah,
It's so good. You have
if
permanent advantage if you're riding your horse.
if
I
you yeah,
love that feat.
I agree. It depends very much on the class. If you
Hmm.
do take it, but I would also then expect to have the DM take more care and did not just kill my
Hmm.
horse because you know
Don't just do
at
it
that at
because.
that point my horse is
Mhm.
basically a sidekick character and it should be a bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
exactly.
but yes,
That's learning a gentle hand with your
yeah,
narrative.
you can say something else. Which is not necessarily killing the horses. Just take anything from the players that they got. They are gonna be very upset and they're gonna want
Mhm.
it back if they can. This is why stealing from the party
Indeed.
is so very very effective.
Yeah, it's also why I like using the disarm action because the players are always going to remember. I think I said this in chat when you and Drake were speaking. Was the player's always going to remember when the Black Knight disarms a player and chucks their flame tongue over a cliff into the
Oh
rushing stream?
yes, oh yes, oh yes. And Drogrim,
They're never going to forget that.
firstly welcome, and second, yeah, if the spiders are smart,
Hmm.
they're hoarding money to lure in more adventurers. That's classic.
Hmm.
That just works. Yeah,
Yeah, that's Hobbit spiders right there.
yeah. Um,
So
yeah,
I
but
mean, we got kind of off topic.
no, we did and we didn't.
I love it.
I think the point we are circling around here is basically don't just roll. If you roll stuff, rolling is fine, but please, um,
These are tools.
build it
They are not
into
your
your
campaign.
game properly. Yes, they should not be your campaign. Indeed, even in hex scroll for people who, by the way, don't know what that is. You have a big,
Mhm.
mostly empty map made of hexes, and per day you can travel, let's say, 4 of them, because you have
Mhm.
horses or maybe 6. I don't know. Depends on the scale of the map, of course.
You're actually
And
right. Usual scaled map is about 6 miles per hex, and
yeah,
you can move about 24 miles a day.
yeah, I sort of remembered it. Not quite.
Mhm.
It's yeah, close enough. And then perhaps it's some sort of terrain, and then you may find something there, like there's an old tower there, there's this or that to find,
Mhm.
there's a brook with fresh water. You actually have to worry about having water depending on what the terrain is and stuff. That's a hex crawl. And assumedly you have some sort of thing to find. And maybe there's clues strewn throughout where it might be, and so on and so forth.
I'm a big fan of that type of gameplay,
It
just
can
because,
be really
again,
good, yeah.
that's my my background as a GM and a player. So, just real quick, my background. I started with third edition, but I went back. I went backwards. So, actually, wait. I started with second edition because I had my thief table. I apologize.
You did have that,
Uh,
yes.
I played I played I played a lot of Icewind Dale, which is 3rd edition. So, my first completed campaign I ever did was a 2nd edition game, and my second completed was a campaign that was level 1 to level 20 that was done with, Mensor's basic, expert, companion, and master set,
Mhm.
which was amazing. It was so good. I loved playing in that.
I've said before, my first really long campaign was actually in AD&D, because it was Hackmaster,
I actually do
and
kinda like AD&D. It gets a
and
lot of bad press, but I do enjoy it.
and we played for several years in that,
Mhm.
on and off. It was not like weekly. I assume bi-weekly, more or less. Um,
Yeah, Grim, I can see that. 3.5 is very complex, by the way. There's a lot of moving parts to that. Even making a character has so many
yeah,
specific little nuances that it's just too much. I've considered going back to it, but I really don't want to do that. I want to focus on my narrative and I want to focus on the adventure.
I think 3.5 is. I mean, it's easily the best D&D until fifth comes along.
Hmm. That's true.
But it is unnecessarily complex in many ways. Yeah.
Yes.
Fifth
And
is the
Grim,
better
I
game.
love that. I love that as well. There's just a point in which you're asking your players to take on a lot of uh, that kind of nuance, and so many people just one don't have the time. Like it's fine if we're all 15 and we have nothing to do after school and we just read, all of the rules for 3.5. Even me, I still have a ton of 3.5 internalized. I could probably run a D&D 3.5 campaign off my dome tomorrow.
Yeah, same.
Just because of how much, but we're kind of past that as its kind of place in the tabletop zeitgeist. It's a little bit faded at this point. So
Yeah.
you're not going to get players who are really into that noodly design.
I mean, you can find
Which
them, but it's not going to be as
they're
easy.
there.
Yeah.
That's true, and they might not be guys that you want to hang out with. Just
Uh,
gonna say
yeah.
they might not be, might not be, might be, might not be.
I have
But
someone.
that's true for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. If they let me put it like this: if you say, "Oh, I want to run 3.5," and they know immediately what the level 20 build is, then you don't want to play with them.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm gonna say you don't want to play 3.5 with me. You do not. I never when I'm power gaming, I never attempt to metagame it. I never try to like beat my GM, but I do go. I want to play a really powerful character. Sundered, I would say that fourth is the worst only because of how good the others are. All of them are
Yeah,
incredible, and 4E is just kind of it's all right. It's fine.
I
It's a 5 out of 10 game to me.
I would give it a 6 out of 10, which does make it
Okay.
worse than 3.5 and 5. For sure. I don't mind it.
I like AD&D and AD&D 2 better than 4, but that's me.
I can't find them hard to compare at this point. It's so
They are such
far
different
removed. Yeah.
games. Yeah.
The thing with fourth that I did like is that you started off more powerfully. That's
Mhm.
almost my whole point. You aren't a paper thin dude who dies into sword strokes in that game. What I don't like is how gamified they made it, and into the
Mhm.
terms of that every skill was basically an MMO button that you could press.
I steal those abilities all the time and rewrite them to be more narrative and give
Yeah,
them to my
indeed.
players
My
all the
point.
time.
My point wasn't the abilities. My point
Mhm.
was that they were
Yeah.
written like
They're
game
MMO
powers. Yeah,
abilities.
yeah.
And the weird thing is when people sit down to play a tabletop game, more often than not, they are not sitting down for the game. They are sitting down for the story. They're here for the adventure. They're here to hang out with their friends, and they're here to play their character.
Indeed, exactly.
That's what they are here for.
If the draw to your 3.5 game is that it's a 3.5 game, then that's not a good sign. Yeah, which
Exactly.
is also why not so few people now really go for it, because fifth is just
Mhm.
it's the easier ask.
It's
Simply put.
accessible.
Yeah, yeah.
It is accessible. They did a wonderful job designing 5e.
Um,
I mean,
well,
myself, I think it's fantastic. I think that it doesn't sell its more complex nature very well because there are bigger and better combat moves you can do. There's more stuff you can do while exploring, and I don't think the DMG was very well written for how to build your games.
fifth edition,
Like
you
it
mean?
doesn't really
Sorry.
teach you a lot. Yes, 5th edition.
Yeah, I agree there.
I'm
I
talking
agree.
about 5th edition. It,
That
it's very simple on the front end, and there's a lot in the back end that you can
yeah,
learn.
yeah. And Drogram, the issue with that, with you the DM learning it,
Hmm.
the players do have to learn their characters. And I
Hmm.
invite you to tell someone who wants to play a wizard that they won't have to learn anything. That is a lie.
Exactly.
That they will need to learn what spells they actually need to take.
Yeah.
And in 3.5, that is a long fucking list.
Yep.
It's
Your abilities are long. I mean, even look at the bard. The bard is a decently simple class in that, and you have so many different songs and abilities, buffs and auras that it's ridiculous. But
yes.
to you, Nura, I want to kind of pose this question: what makes a good starting adventure to you?
Um, let me ask a small counter question. Are we running a
Hmm.
longer campaign than this is the first start of it, or are we? What are we doing? because it
I would
depends
I
for
would
me.
say assuming an average campaign length. So
Okay,
assuming out to about the end of tier 3, beginning of tier 2.
okay, so
Or sorry, end of tier 2, beginning of tier 3. So
and
about 10 to level 12.
that's a year long ask of me, or 6 months? How long are we taking?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oof. It really depends. See, this is where we're getting into like bi-weekly or are we playing weekly?
yeah, okay. Then let's say how many sessions till I'm level 5, give or take?
Man, 5 to 7.
Okay,
I'm going to give you the range of 5 to 7.
so
So
that's
this is like I'm assuming basically like you're running something about the length of Lost Mine, where it's
mhm,
a level like 1 to 5 game, and it's going to probably take about 5 to 7 sessions to get
okay.
all the way through, depending on your player's speed at going through dungeons.
hmm hmm Um, that's for me. It's a very quick game. I will say that
Hmm.
much. I like to
Hmm.
when I DM, things take a bit longer to get to the levels. But hey,
Same here.
okay, let's see. If in such a case, the main thing I would ask for my first session adventure. Sorry, what was the question?
What makes a good starter adventure to you?
Starter adventure.
Yeah.
Um, it should
This
introduce it.
could either be the answer of this is a campaign kickoff for you,
Mm-hmm.
or it is something for a new player, which I think those
Yeah,
are a new player or GM. And I think those are two very different questions.
yeah.
But I just want to get kind of your opinion on what makes it good for
I'm
you.
gonna say with campaign start because
Hmm.
new
Yeah.
thing. Uh, it's hard for me to say what that would be like.
Hmm.
I would want if firstly new players to be on board into the world that we are playing in, which means not necessarily background information, but I want them to have a feel for the world by the end of it. So if we, for example, if we're starting and we're just in a dungeon and we're crawling the dungeon, and the rest of the campaign is going to be not in dungeons, then it's a bad first adventure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awful. You should basically treat you that first adventure as a trailer for your gameplay that you're going
indeed,
to be
indeed.
using.
Yeah. So if your campaign is like, I don't know, 30% dungeons crawling, 50% talking, 20% travel, for example, then your first adventure should
Mhm.
be have around those values.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit more on the mechanical side of things, because at the start people have to learn their own characters
Mhm.
and have to learn each other's characters and stuff. So mm, yeah, I think the most important thing would really be world feel to me, campaign feel. What tone are we going for?
I think that kind of segues immediately into the other one. I don't think that what is a good starting adventure for a new player or new GM is that much different from what you've said. But on top of that, it has this expectation. You need to teach a DM how to run the game, and
Yeah,
you need to teach a player how to play it.
indeed, and that can be. That's not really a
Hmm.
difference, because obviously, if we're saying we want to teach it, we want to teach it well, and
Hmm.
yeah. So teaching them how to section their time is, I really think that's the most
It's
important
important.
thing. Yeah.
I would actually compare and contrast in fifth edition terms because it's new.
hmm
There is basically two starter sets. There's the essentials kit and there's the starter set. I think that the adventure Dragon of Ice Fire Peak, which comes in the essentials kit, is really bad at teaching DMs and players. It's really bad at it. It's
Okay.
basically just like, here you go. Here's a starter level adventure. It's D&D, baby. You
Um.
should know it. And the Lost Mine starter kit adventure straight up just tells you, hey, you're a DM. This is what you should be doing. This is what you're focusing on. This is what you need to learn about the game. And here is tips for players. Here's how you need to run your character, or here's how you can run your character.
If, by the way, you want to
Mhm.
go in on a concrete example, I have
Mhm.
played in a Dragon Heist campaign.
Dragon Heist is pretty good too.
Okay.
I think it's okay. I don't think it's very good to teach players how to do it because it's a very complex kind of moving parts
Yeah,
vibe.
it hits you over the head very hard with all the city
Mhm.
politics. Yeah.
I have had people try to sell me Dragon Heist as a starter, but it is not. This is something that you should be doing with people who have played at least 1 or 2 games.
Yeah, I've played with people who haven't, and
Mhm.
the takeaway for them was, okay, we don't
Mhm.
want politics in our games, because this
Oh,
Lost in
that's
Deep
such a
Research.
shame.
Yeah, that is a shame, right? Because
That's a real
and
shame. It's
that's not.
so fun.
I don't think that's anyone's fault per se,
Mhm.
because if we don't run Dragon
I think it's
Heist
the
with
adventure's fault.
politics, yeah,
I think it's the adventure's fault.
yeah,
Waterdeep is an incredibly complex series. It's
that,
an incredibly complex city.
that's why I said not anyone's fault. It is, if
Mhm.
anything, it's the fault of
Exactly.
the fault of the DM for running it as a first adventure. But hey, it was what
Yeah,
they
but
had.
hey, it's fine.
Yeah,
It's fine. Everything's fine.
yeah. We did end that game not really knowing what was up, and that was okay.
Mhm.
You aren't
Well, it's
supposed
fine.
to.
That's very, very good Snatch vibes,
Yeah.
where the heist happened, but nobody knows why.
Oh, we did go. We did then go steal from the beholders. So hey, that's that.
Valid.
Very valid.
So,
No one died except the people we hired to help. Um,
good. That's what hirelings are there for.
yeah, indeed, they heroically
To let the
died. Yeah.
peons do it.
Ah,
So, really, that's just it. You want to teach people what you're doing. So I think that really comes into, even if you're writing your own,
yeah.
like you said, break down into percentages and how people are going to be spending their time, and then just sell the tone.
hmm I also like to do when I run. I've said this before, but let's do it again.
Mhm.
I mean, I give the players. I railroad them to a place because hey, we're starting the campaign in location X.
Mhm.
Obviously, you have to be there, right? People understand.
Yes.
And then
Why are you there?
something immediate happens, some immediate problems that they have to tackle if they want to survive as characters. Well, that's another railroad, but you kind of still have to do it.
Mhm.
And from there, once the big problem is solved and the players have been tempered together as fighting companions, I give them options, lots of options, see what they go for, and look how they develop their characters. And that's kind of what I do as a first mini campaign. I would say for level 1, 2, 3 about. And but once we hit
I
level
have.
3 and everyone has their stuff, in 5e that's kind of important.
Oh yeah.
Um, then I know what they are about as player characters, and I can use that to make the actual campaign happen.
Mhm. I believe in a starter adventure, or at least a first adventure world design, very much how you've described it, almost as if you think about two funnels
Mm-hmm.
and you super glue them together at their widest point. So you
Yeah,
start
would
very,
agree
very
indeed.
slim,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and then you branch out and have a bunch of wibbly wobbly adventure in the middle, and then you come together for that final bit.
Yes, yes,
That,
yes.
I think, giving players options and telling them to look for something. I think telling players to find something in the wilderness, again, that's back to hex
Mm-hmm.
crawling and exploration for me. That is that third pillar of design that 5e kind of lacks. And it does
Uh,
not lack it out
yeah,
of anything other than people did not pay attention to the starter adventure. They
yeah.
did not pay attention to the first thing. That adventure has an entire section, an entire like third of it that is, hey, you're going to explore and you're going to look for this thing that's somewhere out in the wilderness, and you may not know exactly where it is. Nobody may not know exactly. Nobody may know exactly where it is.
Uh, yeah,
So it's up to you
for
to
sure.
hunt down leads.
The
I think that's good design.
Yeah, that's my last real life campaign. Start out
Mhm.
with trade caravan en route to some city. Trade caravan gets attacked. They learn that the attackers are just scouts for the big army that's attacking the city. Warn the city. Go, go, go. And that's basically hex crawl from then on because they had to go past a few days of wilderness travel while avoiding enemy army scouts
That's good
and
stuff.
other stuff. And then
Classic.
yeah, they want the city, and then they were heroes. Congratulations.
Mhm.
Have free lodging at our tavern. That's a good reason for you to stay in that fucking tavern, by the way. And everyone is together all the time. Yay!
There's actually a really good adventure start in the third edition. Uh, it's not a module; it's like a full campaign book. Red Hand of Doom,
Not read
which
it.
is really sick. It's
Okay.
a hobgoblin who is, I think, he's some sort of priest or avatar of Tiamat,
Ooh.
who is building a big kind of draconic hobgoblin army. And the first scene is straight up, well, army's attacking, you're fucked. And your whole job as heroes, because you're like level 1 characters or like level 3 characters, is it's more about saving the townspeople and being, you know,
yeah.
you're not the big man who's going to run out and fight everybody with a laser sword. You're going to be the guy who's trying to get all of the people to safety because that's what heroes do.
Indeed,
They
that's,
save people.
by the way, that's a good point about when you design something like that. If you start your game and you want to include your big bad character, you know, because he's cool and you want to show him off, make sure the players have a reason to run away from him. In terms of, you know, we have to save these people, we have to save this item or something, because otherwise people might attack him and then they might die.
Oh, by the way, that adventure has a really cool ticking clock in which it works almost like FTL, where it's just the army advances and will just wipe out stuff as it goes.
That is cool. That is very cool.
I think it's really neat. It is a really good one. I wish that it would get updated into 5th edition because it's so good.
I mean,
Oh, you start at level 6 in it.
oh, nice.
Oh, Rick Baker did this one. I love that guy.
That's almost unusual. So.
Dang, I like this guy. Rick Baker is one of the nicest guys I've ever met in any sort of gaming convention.
I have not met any of the D&D people. I've met a few German Shadowrun authors.
That's pretty neat.
Oh yeah, they are also very cool people.
I ran in design circles that got me into Gen Con quite frequently, and I met a lot of the guys who worked on 3.5 and old TSR products.
Nice. And obviously, for me, it would be hard to go to Gen Con, you know. I don't want to buy a plane ticket to the... I mostly attended local cons.
I ran a booth hucking Legendary Adventures, which I have a copy of right down there. I'm pointing at my bookshelf like anybody can see it. Legendary Adventures, one of the weirdest, strangest, and worst design systems I've ever seen, but it is so charming.
I have no idea. I want to pitch one thing real quick.
What's up?
Since we were talking about making fights interesting a little bit earlier. Don't necessarily play it. I would say, though, it is a fun adventure. Read Feng Shui if you want to have many pointers on how to make fights interesting. Because that game is about playing an action movie, a Hong Kong action movie. So it's over-the-top fight scenes, basically.
Yeah.
And that's really nice. And it teaches you, okay, if you're setting up a fight, think of these many things and how that could be there that make things interesting. That give options to everyone to use it. For example, classic one, you're at a harbor fighting at the docks. Yeah. Of course, there are going to be exploding barrels there. It's the harbor. Why not?
There's going to be cranes and shit to jump around on. There's going to be moving cargo crates.
There's moving cargo crates. There's going to be a big crane to swing from or climb up. There's going to be exploding barrels. There's going to be stuff in the cargo containers that you can use. Everything. And then you think of at least 10 things that happen. And if you don't use them, just keep them in your pocket for later. And
I have a
3-step like that. That's so good.
Program that gets you through that. there's the 3 steps to making combat interesting. Keep moving. Use the environment and give another objective other than the fight's over and people are dead. Like those are good fight scenes.
Indeed. Yeah, that is good. All good fight scenes. My point is, Feng Shui just goes over. It has several pages of pointers and help for people who might not know how to approach that. If they are new to DMing, it is really good.
If you go into every fight and the objective is just defeat the other side, it's eventually going to get boring.
Indeed, yeah.
I think one of my favorite fights in Witcher 3 is you walk into that little... I don't remember. Have you played Witcher 3?
I have not, no, but you can spoil it. It's fine.
Okay. No, this is not even a spoiler. It's just you walk into a town or a small little trading post, like a little palisade trading post, and there are a bunch of guys just the Baron's men assaulting a young lady, being quite crass, and you have the option to get in there, fight them, and beat them. The purpose of the fight is not to defeat the Baron's men; it's to show that the Baron is being an ass and letting his boys run rampant over the entire barony and save the girl. Mm-hmm. There's not a direct, well, the guards are here, they're angry, and they're going to fight you. That stuff gets really boring. If every fight you have is just point A to B, if your adventure is point A to B, people are not going to like it.
Yes, if that's also true for dungeon crawls, for long ones.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have other interesting stuff happen. Because, I mean, yeah, of course you are there to find the magic crystal of plot convenience, whatever your adventure might be. But if every fight is just get to the crystal, but the fights don't really matter to that, you could have avoided them or something. That feels kind of weird. So the best thing I have ever found there was to, how do I put this? I mean, first, ticking clocks are always nice. So if people can't really have to weigh heavily, if do we rest or not? If we rest too often, the town is going to be burned by the time we're there. We are back. Because dungeon crawls are kind of hard to, give those things. It's you can maybe get away with saying, okay, there's another party also crawling if it's a huge dungeon, but that feels a bit contrived, So my best advice is always to put ticking clocks somewhere if you can't find other ways to make it interesting.
Really easy repeating ticking clock, by the way, if you're doing a dungeon and your players are just like, oh, we're going to just leave the dungeon, camp outside, and put a watch. There's probably going to be a patrol that's coming back.
Oh, yeah.
My dude. Yeah, or there might be a really powerful beast in the area. There could be something like a manticore prowling around.
Oh, yeah. And even if there
it
isn't,
sees you outside of the safe dungeon.
One thing I've done, which was really nice, let's make an other campaign I did. They found sort of survival shelter because that was a world ravaged by the demon war, by the blood war. So the survivors built shelters. It was essentially Fallout shelters, like really Fallout, yeah. And that thing had, a bunch of fucking traps at the start. And they were,
as it should.
Yes, and they were quite deadly to navigate and go through. And then when the players had done that, they went in and they reset. And then the party didn't want to leave. They wanted to find a way to unreset the traps. Because assumedly that would have to be possible,
good
right?
idea, yeah. There would probably be a central location that would allow that to happen.
Yes.
Oh, on that diorama storytelling thing that I was getting on, waxing philosophical about, I just thought of a really good one when you were talking about that kind of Fallout shelter aesthetic, especially with demons. Final Fantasy 15 has that. A ton of the dungeons are like Fallout shelters.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like you'll be going through a dungeon fighting goblins, and you'll look over, and there are like a row of freestanding showers because people lived there.
Yeah, that's cool.
You got to remember, dungeons are a location that people lived and worked in. This is not a place that is a stone room that has stuff in it.
What I like to do for dungeons is, what was this place originally? For example, this was a castle. What is it now? Now it's an abandoned castle used by goblins as their hideout.
Yeah.
Now, what I actually do often in real life is I draw the map of the castle, and then I change it because, hey, that tower collapsed. That room, that's the main dining room. The Goblin King now uses it for a stone room because it's the biggest room. He wanted the biggest room, and so on and so forth. And so it feels diegetic is the word, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And
that is definitely an operable word for that. Yeah.
And if the players can immediately understand why things are as they are, they will make sense of everything else around them in those terms. And that is the most important thing.
The most powerful thing you have is not telling a person what this is, but showing them what it is now and showing them what it used to be through these tiny scraps.
Indeed. And it's also
information. They'll connect the links from there.
Suspension of disbelief is what goes super long way in that you say, it used to be this castle, right? But the Goblin King, that's this big room, and all the other rooms are this and that, and the stables, they didn't use the stables for horses because they don't have any horses. But since it's convenient to store stuff there, since it's near the gate and so on, they have the loot there because they don't want to lug it around all the time. And and every little thing you tell them, once you have told them 3 or 4 things, good players will be like, okay, now that makes sense that they live here and here and here, and this is maybe the kitchen, and so on, because they can make sense of what you wanted them to make sense of, and that's great. That's a good feeling. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my TED talk on that. I'm not even named TED.
Very valid. Look, I don't think anybody's really named Ted. I don't believe that's a real name.
I think that's just a meme, yeah.
No.
So what else are we on?
We've been talking a lot about how to start an adventure, but
Mhm.
really, I mean, I have such a terrible piece of advice for like how do I start my adventure, because it's gonna sound really crass. It's gonna straight up sound like I'm being just a jerk. Just do it.
I agree. I
Straight
agree
up,
with you
just
though.
do it. Like
Yeah.
you are never going to be perfectly ready. You're never going to have everything you need. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to hurt anybody in here who writes their own settings. Your players are not there for your setting. Your setting is a bonus.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
They are there to play their character. And if they are interested, like for me, anytime someone GMs, I will directly message them. The first conversation I actually had with one little gnome in chat was, "Hey, how does your world work? What are the politics of your world? And this is the class I want to play. How does that fit in?"
Hmm.
Because that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in having my character be part of the setting to kind of sell part of the GM's world.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what I like.
That is
And that's
nice.
because I've been doing
Yeah.
it for a really long time. But usually people want to play their elven prince, noble cavalier. That's what they want to do, that's why they're there. So it doesn't matter to them what your elves are really like or how your nobles are or anything about that. That's they want to play their character.
Yeah. You have to
And
you have to
a
earn
reasonable person will
yeah,
will
yeah.
get in there.
You have to earn the
Sorry.
attention of your players. You can't
Mhm.
expect them to have to bring it to you. The
Yeah.
what they will expect if you say, "Oh, it's a D&D campaign," they're going to expect Lord of the Rings, more or less. These
Yeah.
days, why not? Not a bad expectation, and then you have to, ease it into how your world is unique and different, and maybe better than Lord of the Rings.
Mhm.
Um,
No, because it's yours.
yeah,
I
because it's
usually
yours.
say if because you write your own settings and your own
Hmm.
content and stuff like that. I usually tell people if you don't have strong opinions on how things work, then don't do it. I have a very very strong opinion on how elves work, on
Hmm.
how they work in terms of physicality, metaphysics, just how they exist within a setting. And I don't like how other writers write them, so I do my own.
Yes, yeah, that's
Like
the most
it's not
valid
just
thing
about
ever.
lore, but
Yeah,
I have very very strong opinions on dwarves and how adventures should be written. That's why I write my settings. But if you
yeah,
don't,
exactly.
find one that you love. Just find one you love. I
Right.
love Mistara. I would run a Mistara campaign tomorrow. I love it.
I do love.
Blackmoor is also really good. Greyhawk's solid.
Yeah, I do love Eberron these days. Eberron is my
Mm,
fav of the
Eberron is really
published
good.
ones. Um,
I just want
yeah.
Birthright 5e.
Uh,
I love Birthright.
oof, okay, yeah. I'd be down. Why not? Um, the yeah, the takeaway is you don't have to do your own world. Absolutely not. You don't
You
have to do
don't.
your own
You're
setting.
all good.
It does not matter as much as you think.
Mhm.
What really matters way more, way way more. By the way, thanks for the donations, Cotias.
I know Sundered. I know it will never happen. Wait, no, I will say Dark Sun is the one that's never going to happen.
I think
Birthright has a 1% chance. Dark Sun has 0.
Dark Sun. Yeah, I would be so cool though. I want Dark Sun. I want it.
I know, but it's never happening. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
sorry.
I fear you might be right. Um, what matters far more is that you can think on your feet and that you can improvise. That is so
Mhm.
fucking important because that's gonna
Psionics aren't the
do.
problem.
No, that they are not. They have
Dark Sun's
Psionics.
setting detail is the problem.
Psionics are in there
Dark
already.
yeah.
They exist in 5e. It's not a problem. They
Dark
might have.
Sun is just it's I and by the way, I like it. It is just an incredibly ugly setting, and it is not
Yeah,
marketable.
yeah. Um, they might get away with adjusting it for 2021, 22 or whenever.
Maybe.
That's how I see it. Maybe working. Do it. Old Dark Sun was like this, and these days this and that
Mm.
is happening. I mean, to be fair to wizards and stuff, they for the new Baldur's Gate they just used straight up Nautiloids and stuff. That I didn't
Oh yeah.
expect that. I didn't expect them to go that hard corny that quickly, but it works.
Mhm.
Just present
I
your
kind
corny
of like
stuff
what they're doing
with
now.
conviction, and it will
Yeah.
will go well.
Oh yeah, 100% believe your own bullshit.
Yeah.
I had a GM. I've talked about this before, but maybe not recently. I had a GM friend of mine who would run these wild ideas that nobody enjoyed. Like I remember one of his was it was a city of earless elves, which one I was like, that's fucked up, my man. I'm playing an elf right now, and you're giving me this. And at the center of it was this incredibly tall, like 100-mile tall bleeding tree. And it's like, and I immediately looked at him and I went, oh, the elf ears are staple of the tree, huh? And he was like, well, fuck you, Emery, for one. And for two, after that session, he came up to me and he said, Emery, you do all sorts of weird, crazy sci-fi Final Fantasy shit in your games, and everybody just buys it immediately. How do you do that? And I said, because I believe my own bullshit.
Yeah.
That's it. All you have to do is believe it. If you believe that your world works in this way, people will believe it when you tell them.
Oh yes. In
Be sure of yourself.
my current campaign, the elves, the Demon World campaign, where the Blood War happened, the elves are on a bit of a kill everyone project to cleanse the world, because
Right,
they
I can
know
see that.
the fucking humans got the demons in here. We don't like that. Let's go. And they
Why'd they do that? I'm
yeah,
on Team Elf right now. Like they're right.
yeah, you know, they do have a point. Yeah, it's almost like even evil guys should have a point to their stuff. Because if your bad
That's
guys
just
just
writing good villains.
yeah, that's also if your bad guys just M Bison, who is basically I want world domination because I am M Bison. That's gonna it's writing, sure, but it's not good. They should have a point, a reason for that.
Yeah.
They throw the Northern
Really,
Lord
that's
into Rime of the Frost Maiden. Okay, I have no idea what that means.
Frostmaiden.
Is that also a game, a campaign?
The Rime of the Frost Maiden is the newest boxed adventure.
Oh, I see.
Takes place in Icewind Dale.
I see. Oh,
It's good stuff. It's a cool adventure. It looks really neat. I like a lot of the items. Uh, my new favorite spell is in there, Blade of Disaster, which replaces Mordenkainen's sword because Mordenkainen's sword is so bad.
it is.
Awful spell. But then Blade of Disaster just blows it out of the water.
I just have to make a new time stop that's not garbage, and then we can talk.
Oh yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Time stop needs to be so much better.
I
would actually like, this is gonna sound goofy. I would like time stop to be a lower level spell, because like the effect that's presented is barely 3rd level in strength.
I think
It's so bad.
Oh, Haru, thank you for continuing your sub. Thank you very much. I don't have a sound for this apparently. I have to look into that after the stream.
Whack. But yeah, we've talked a lot about a bunch of crazy stuff, but what is like your first step? Where do you start with writing a campaign?
Well, let me just give me 1 second. I need to write down that I have to look that up with the sound. Where's my thingy here? No sound for sub. That is a problem I want to solve for sure. I would say if it's a completely new campaign I'm planning, I always only plan the first adventure, and usually that's centered around one place that I plan. Because unless it's an established world, which I've played in before, I also do a new world for each of my campaigns usually. And in that, I don't know what the world is yet when I do that. I just know that one place and how that is unique. And then like we can branch out from there. But once I know what the players want to play, because where's the point in me having a grand idea of my final end game of my 3 big bads?
Yeah.
If the players don't care about any of them, I have to know what they care about to establish my big bad correctly.
That's a good idea. I've been running my setting for a really, really long time, so I don't tend to remake it. I don't tend to make new ones. I do occasionally, but more often than not, it's just a different time period for the same world.
Hey, when I say new world, it could be new time period, which is kind of, it's
basically the same thing.
What has changed. That can be interesting if it's recurring players. If it isn't, I can just also reuse whatever I've written before,
I like to drop players into. I try to get the vibe of kind of what technology level they want and how much magic they want in the world, and then I adjust my world accordingly because I think everything's in flux. So I run a really complicated cyclic setting where it constantly goes back
Oh yeah,
to the starting point.
that kind of thing
So
can totally be a question, of course. Hey, what do you want, guns in our D&D today, or do we
yeah,
not want guns in our D&D?
really depends,
That's
but I like guns.
yeah, that's an ask I would do before I start.
I, I do kind of like guns, but if no player is planning on using them, then why bother even having them
Yeah,
in there? That's
exactly,
really it.
exactly. If
I the last time I ran, or the first time I ran Lost Mine of Fandelver, I had a player who was like, "I want to be a wizard, but I want to have a gun."
sure.
And I was like, "All right, sick." Like right now, he would have been an artificer because that's what he did. He was like, "I want to be a techno wizard." And I was
Mhm.
like, "Okay, cool." Um, Rangers can always feel adequate. By the way, I'm playing a ranger who two fists, six guns, and he is amazing.
Yeah,
He is so good.
for a certain thing that's going to happen in the future, I considered playing a ranger because I do love Horizon Walker very much.
Rangers are just good. I think people meme on them too much. I feel like the D&D community overall, once they hit a meme, their brain rots and the meme
Uh,
replaces part of their brain.
that is humanity these days. Um,
The
my
meme has become the truth.
I mean, let's be fair here. The meme had a point back when it was Player Handbook Ranger. Player Handbook Ranger is either
Mhm.
totally stupidly written, or it's fucking boring. You can be a Beastmaster and suck,
Basically,
or you can be the other one, which the name I forgot, and
Hunter.
have generic
Hunter.
bonus damage, and that is your character.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's not very
I
interesting.
hate I hate how they took Whirlwind Strike, which is one of my favorite feats from 3.5, and put it on that ranger at a super high level. So there's like it's
Yeah,
awful.
yeah,
It should
yeah,
have been a battle master ability.
yeah.
But
Battlemaster is one
yeah.
is a sore spot for me because I do not like that you have like 4 abilities per short rest. I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean when for me, I would have rather taken the battle master abilities and reduced their die to
Hmm.
like a D6 and just made them able to use however many they want.
I have a different philosophy which I used once when want
Really?
to play one.
Okay.
I said it's per fight. You have these dice. I think
Hmm.
two. I said two more than before. You have them per fight, and after that, the enemy is just wise to your antics, and they won't fall for it again. But if it's new, if we roll initiative again, you have all your dice back. That worked well enough for
Okay.
what we played.
That tends to get into I think just the difference between how we use rests as GMs
Oh yeah.
because I use them frequently and I encourage my players to short rest
Um,
and I try to make multiple encounters per day.
it's yeah. My problem at my table, at least, where that
Mhm.
table was, if something was urgent, we can't short rest. That's player brain.
Interesting
We
because
have
my I have the exact opposite. I think we can short rest, but we can't long rest.
oh, basically we can't rest. That was the thing there.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I think short rest could almost just go away. I think if you just say,
Oh, I
okay,
like it so much though.
no, my point is, if there isn't a fight, just allow them to do that stuff. Allow them, uh, let it take 5 minutes or something, which is a number of minutes which anyone would say
Mhm.
is fine, and then that's a short rest. I've also done that before, just to get people to actually use them, because
I tend to vary them between an hour and 10 minutes just because
yeah.
I think 10 minutes is perfectly fine.
Indeed, it's the difference. There is the hour. The hour is what people think is too long. In
Because
my
when you think about it, what are you doing? Like a wizard is regenerating some of their spells by flipping through their book. You know,
yeah,
the fighter is taking a breather to kind of like roll their shoulders. The bard's playing a quick song. That's 10 minutes.
yes, indeed.
That's one free bird.
Yeah, can measure it in that direction. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's really that's I had that but with a player who was playing a monk, so someone very interested in resting. By the way, not you,
Mm-hmm.
Chief, if you're still here, I don't mean you, I mean real life people of mine. Um, because Chief is playing a monk in my other game.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, that's pretty cool. I like monks.
Yeah, monks are cool. Monks I feel are a bit underpowered, but they're cool. Um. Anyway, that player was the most adamant about never short resting.
Mm,
And they should have, just from a I need this standpoint, should have been into it, but they weren't. And so eventually I just said, okay, short rests are gonna. I don't care anymore. You can just short rest after a fight, and that worked way better.
mm, mhm.
And yeah, I could have said 10 minutes, which would have worked just as well, I think.
I tend to use 10 minutes because I think that's a good time for like a dungeon.
Yeah,
I think like you're not going to spend an hour chilling and eating hardtack in a dungeon. You're going to
yeah,
spend 10 minutes to get your breath and kind of get your bearings.
yeah.
So I think that's the perfect thing.
I usually,
Also, I've had my experience with wilderness survival and long treks, and you take about 10 minutes to get your breath.
yeah, if you take longer,
If you're
it's
climbing a
actually,
mountain, you're
yeah.
yeah, it's
If
really dangerous too because weather can shift and you get blown off the fucking mountain.
not even
Take your 10,
just that. In my, I've hiked
get a
a
nice breath.
bunch in my
Oh yeah.
in my day, and if you rest too long, you actually your muscles are in a worse condition. I found you have if you take too long a breather, it's counterproductive, and then you tire yourself out faster.
That's why you need to keep good rest discipline for working out,
Oh yeah,
so that you don't burn yourself out and fuck up your last lift. Overall, I just there I think a lot of that is DM discipline. You need to just learn what works for you and how you interpret these rules
indeed, yeah.
and how to move forward with
I've
that. You
also
know?
been like, yeah, looting is resting. It's fine. Just you don't have to
Yeah. What are you
stop.
doing?
Yeah,
Picking pockets.
yeah. You are not fighting,
Yeah.
so that's basically resting. That's basically short resting. Yeah,
I often say people can use ritual spells during a short rest because, like, if the wizard's going to identify, that's like 10 minutes.
yeah,
And what are they doing? They're sitting, chilling, and meditating over a sword. You know, that's not exactly hard work.
indeed. Um,
But man,
Oi.
it's just again, it's just down to your personal preference and how you like running these things. Sundered Ant, people do that. People do that. By the way, why do you think you have pittons in your Dungeoneer's pack? So you can nail the bottom of doors shut. So you can slam those into the threshold of
Yeah,
the
well,
door, and then you block the door.
counterpoint. If someone finds that door and can't open it, they might call
Stuff shut.
someone.
They might batter ram it. They might ram it down, and that's good.
Yeah.
Your players will never forget that moment where an ogre batters down the door that you fit and shut in the middle of the
Yeah,
night, and everybody's completely butt
yeah.
naked.
The long rest in dungeon, especially if it's Big Bad's castle, which sounds kind of like there would be a lot of enemies there. That's an iffy subject. But if it's like
Mhm.
Big Bad's tomb, and Big Bad is supposedly dead, but he seemed to be running around last week, so we have to find out what happened. Then that's a more forgivable if you run a long rest there.
Mhm.
You know, it's like the difference between rearresting at the White House and rearresting at the I don't know, the abandoned building next to the White House.
Mhm. Smithsonian. You can sleep in the Smithsonian, by the way. It's possible.
Oh,
They might not catch
I don't even doubt it. But you know what I mean. Big Bad's castle sounds a bit too
you.
serious
Yeah.
to long rest. You know.
Yeah, that's again, I think if you are in the Big Bad's castle, they're gonna be sending patrols to every nook and cranny to try to get you. Plus, how many times are you in your house and no room is untouched for 8 hours? You know,
Yeah, indeed. I mean, Big Bad's castle might be more untouched in some ways. You could find the attic or something and rest there.
you could just have like an abandoned wing too.
Yeah, if you build the adventure right, they could find that place where they can
Yeah.
rest. The secret room that even Big Bad doesn't know about,
Ooh, yeah, the
and
architect's
something like
room.
that. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's possible, but it should require something more than just yeah, we want a long rest. Cool, yeah, okay. 8 hours later.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. You cover yourself with the dead guards, and then no one sees you
exactly,
until the
exactly.
ogre comes to eat the dead guards because that's an ecosystem.
Yeah, he might do that.
Yeah,
He might do that.
and then he
That's a snack.
might eat you. That's not good.
Yeah, he just grabs you and bites your leg off right there. Now you're done. Now you sand his leg.
Yeah,
Uh,
but you're gonna be awake on time. Yeah.
so goodness, I think starting a campaign is not that difficult, especially if you
No.
approach it kind of from that almost like kid mindset, you know? Think of yourself as being 15, you know, you're just gonna do it. You're gonna take a weekend, you're gonna write an adventure, and you're gonna run your friends through it. It doesn't
No,
have
yeah.
to be pretty, it doesn't have to be complex, it just has to be an adventure that allows allows the characters to be heroes.
I would also say, and this is not a diss on anyone, not everyone is meant to DM.
That's
I,
true.
I have a friend who's a
True.
really good player, um, and they are really fun to play with. But if they DM, they get deer in headlights and they can't. They tried it twice, and both times they had a cool setup and some cool stuff happened.
Mhm.
And then one of us, inadvertently, without even meaning to, would go in a direction they didn't intend, and then they just fell down on the floor and were basically catatonic. Not really, but you know what I mean. Because they could
They
not
function.
improvise. They could not improvise in the moment. And if you can't improvise, I'm very very sorry, but you won't be a good DM.
That's true. That's true. It's unfortunate, but that's not again, like you said, it's not a diss.
No, it isn't.
It's not that bad.
And Chief, no, no, no. I don't mean you. Your adventures are really great. I love your game. Dearly love it. It is so nicely loot as well.
So really just I think anyone can, but not everyone can be a good one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not I don't think it's that difficult to do, but when you really get down to it, some people just do not have an interest in telling stories. They have an interest in telling their story. And
Mm-hmm.
again, if that's what you want to do, if you have a story you want to tell, write a book.
Indeed,
Write
yeah,
a book.
completely.
Write a novella.
Yeah,
If you have a good setting that you want to create an adventure with other people, then do it. Ooh, Chief, that's a really good question. I like that because we've been kind of alluding to that. Is
oh
it
yeah.
better for a new DM to use a module or their own adventure? I would say I would say neither is easier. Both present their own problems, but it might be preferable to use a boxed adventure.
I would say at least read one
Mhm.
because it will tell you a ton of what you need. But if you read one and you don't like it, then it's maybe time for you to think, why don't I like it, and how can I make a better thing that I would want to run?
So DMing is writing. It is writing and
Yeah.
it is designing. And the way that you get good at writing and designing is by reading and playing. So if you play a lot of D&D and you read a lot of shit or read a lot of adventures, you will understand how modules are written, how pacing works, and how to engage your players. That is the number one thing that I've been asked over my years doing designing and writing is how do I engage a reader, a watcher, or a player? And they're the same thing. Read a lot, know what engages
Yeah,
you, know what engages an audience, and then use that.
indeed.
Done.
Let's look at this. And use a mixture of both. Perfectly
Hmm.
valid. You
Yeah,
can
definitely.
you can use a module as a start off point very easily. That's how I would go about it if I were to run something like that. Um, Chief, model does a lot of legwork for you. If you end up with a DM that has trouble with improv, that might be difficult. Indeed,
Yeah,
because it doesn't modules make it seem like you don't need the improv, but you will.
you do. I had a GM who ran Horde of the Dragon Queen who was just so awful at improv. Like they didn't shut down, but while we were playing, we would do something and she would look at all of us at the table and go, "Hey guys, the adventure doesn't cover this, so could you not do that?" And I think once you do that, you failed. You have failed.
Yes. I mean, it's fine to be like,
Mhm.
guys, I know you really want to go to the north, but you do realize that this is the module is called Little Keep on the Borderlands. Maybe we stay on the Borderlands, please. Yeah, that is kind of a valid point. That's
Is
something
definitely
that's
yeah,
then
that
something
is something that I can see.
that's on the party as much as on you. It might be
Yeah,
on you a bit.
that's just player etiquette,
Yeah,
really, where it's like, "Hey, guys, the adventure is kind of in this area," and they go, "Well, we wanna go down to, the capital, but the capital's not part of this adventure," and that's just kind of being, I think, rude to
yeah,
expect a GM to whip up an entire new adventure because you just don't like, the aesthetic of this area, you know?
yeah. That is very much the classic Knights of the Dinner Table obstinate player stereotype. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
Um,
like that guy. Nobody likes that
no
guy.
one likes that guy, and I mean, but if it happens inadvertently because
Mhm.
you didn't think what would be behind door number 3 and you put door number 3 in there, that is on you then. Why is
Oh
door
yeah,
number? And again, a lot of
don't
legwork
present the option.
is done with the either or question.
Mhm.
Because if you only present one choice, players are going to search for the other one. But
Yeah,
if you present two choices, then it's a discussion about do we do A or B.
yeah.
That can help a lot. And I had one more, but I forgot. It's your turn.
Oh goodness. It's my turn now.
Yeah, I guess.
Ooh. I really like running mixtures. I think they're fun. I think they're really fun. I think there's so much good work that has been done over the ages that this hobby has
Oh,
been valid and accessible, that there are so many good writers. There are guys like Rick Baker and Monty Cook, Tracy Hickman, who have done these massive sprawling things. Even Gygax made some good stuff. Gygax's adventures are fun. Gygax was just kind of an iffy designer, and I think Arneson did a pretty good job too. So I think Arneson's a better designer than Gygax, but that's just me. That's my tea. So
fair.
now hold on. I'm not going to get into old school D&D tea from like years ago. This half century old D&D tea. Oh my god. Anyways, so I look at things like I run what I call spicy Fandelver because I like running Lost Mine of Fandelver. It's a fun adventure and it teaches new players, and I'm often teaching new players. I'm running D&D for, my niece, my sister, and my mother,
Hmm.
like right now.
Nice.
And I started with Fandelver because none of them have ever played. By the way, it's really funny, like how age plays into this. My mother plays exactly like an AD&D person playing in like the late 70s. That's when she grew up. She plays exactly with that mindset, and she had never done it before. She is like, she will like straight up look at her watch and be like, "Hey guys, we've been playing for 3 hours and we've only checked 3 rooms. Come on, let's go. Let's clear rooms."
Nice.
It's so insane.
Amazing.
It's really funny.
I
But
give you a good reason, just to interject, to do your own
yeah,
writing anyway, even if you want to run an official
yeah.
thing. The official thing, if you have, especially if you have players that you don't know, or don't know if they
Mhm.
played, they might have read that and they might know where the
That's
thing
true.
is and stuff. So it's good to change up things anyway. So get in the habit. It's not going to ever be to a disadvantage.
By the way, if that is one thing, ask your players if they've read this module before.
Yeah.
Ask your players if they have. Like, so for example, Gnome in chat is running us through Ghost of Saltmarsh right now. It's where I'm playing my big brawler boxer boy. And I had played Ghost of Saltmarsh way, way back in the day when I was a real youngin'. And so I remembered some things, but it's very iffy. Like I can't remember. Like I remember that there was a Sahagween kind of castle, like a lizard folk castle. I'm like, or a dungeon. And I was like, all right, they've got their thing, and I kind of remember that about something about this haunted house. And then Gnome, because they asked, worked that into my character, where my character kind of knew the secret of the haunted house at least a little bit, or at least had a
Nice.
had a
That
an
is cool.
inkling.
That's
And so I was
perfect.
like,
Yeah.
oh, this works.
That
But
works
if a
perfectly.
player remembers things and then doesn't tell you, that's bad. That's
Yeah.
really bad. Like if they've played Lost Mine before and they are like, oh yeah, yeah, no, it'll be fine, and then they metagame the whole thing, that would be horrible. Again, I've done this before. I had somebody who wanted to run that same adventure after I had run it for them as a player, and they said, "Well, I want you to still be in the game," and I went, "All right." Uh, and we brainstormed an idea, and I think I played a ranger who was local. I think I replaced the guy who runs the orchard in
Nice.
Pangolin. I
Okay.
just replaced that guy, Darren Edermath. I was like, okay, now I'm just this other guy. I'm just like a previous adventurer. I'm a retired adventurer who lives in Phandalin, and I know kind of what's going on,
So
and so I know the area a little bit.
so in the end, I like that. I like that
Mm.
that dig that you did there with the dragon real estate. I understand what you mean. Um, what was I about to say? The
Have good
yeah.
etiquette
Oh
is
yeah.
all I'm
I
saying.
I
Like, just
remember.
be
Yeah,
nice.
I've got etiquette. The first thing I told Locke because I mean spoiler alert, Emery and I in a D&D game, Locke is gonna run.
Very excited for it. I
Oh
still need to
yes,
make a character. I got insane stat rolls. It's
you
hilarious.
got
I have like nothing below
you have
13.
86 average. Yeah,
I got like 3 or 4 15.
you have 4 15s, a 14, and a 12 or something insane, or 11.
Fucking Hercules,
Yeah,
baby.
it's gonna be an interesting. I have my stat average is 70, and I'm gonna be happy with that. Um, the first thing I told Locke was, by the way, I don't know what they did with Strat this time, but I do know Curse of Strat and stuff, and I know about the domains. So just so you know, and Locke was like, "Yeah, it's. I mean, I know you're a long time player. Can you? I'm sure you can separate that." And I was like, "Yeah, I can. I've done that before." So
I might ask Locke. I did the same thing with Locke that I do to everybody when I'm a GM, or when I'm because I've been a GM and a player for so long. I will ask them about the setting that they're running, and I will ask them a second question, which I find if you are a veteran player and you are working with a GM, ask this question: what is the character you have always wanted to run as a DM?
mhm.
What is the character that you have always wanted to have in your party? I ask that all the time because I like doing that. You know, I like being a part of their setting, and I
that
like
is
being somebody
that's
who is storied in the world.
I do something similar when I play a lot of the time. If I know that someone else is there that's gonna have a big story, I like to just
Mhm.
be the sidekick.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
nice.
I like
I've been a bodyguard before. I think it's awesome.
yeah. I've said this as well before. The advantages are many. Firstly, um, the story you get is just gonna get bigger because now two players are in
Mhm.
PCs shared, and also you share successes more, and it doesn't feel like it feels more urgent. Because
You also have like built-in camaraderie. I really like.
built-in camaraderie is another one, and yeah, it reinforces. You reinforce each other.
Yeah.
If your friend is a step closer to getting whatever they want, you are a step closer to getting what you want.
hmm
Perfect. It's cool. I like doing it.
Playing Alfred can be really, really cool.
Oh yeah, just don't
Or
play with.
playing like Sancho Panza.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
very valid. Now, I will say that what I did was an advanced version of something I highly suggest for both players and GMs. For players, pitch your character. Do what you would normally do at a pitch meeting. I don't know how much anybody knows about script or television writing, but usually you will write a series of log lines and pitch and just go like, "Hey, this is what I want to make. Are you interested in this?" And it's like a single line or something. I did this for another game after my wizard had died in another one of Gnome's games. I wrote out just like 5 pitches of just like, this is the character, this is what they do, this is part of their personality, as if I was pitching a new character to a television series for them to pick up as a regular. That's something I do because of my experience in doing commercial and professional writing, but I think it's very helpful for somebody trying to get in, you know? Write up a couple of different characters and go, "Hey, what are you interested in?" Sometimes I pitch to the entire table, sometimes just to the GM, but I think that's a good thing to get a just a read on what your GM finds cool and what you find cool and
Yeah,
how you can meet in the middle. I do that with campaigns too. I write up 3 different campaign log lines and I pitch it to my players.
that's
That's how my
nice.
players ended on this weird game that I'm running now that's very heavily inspired by like 90s horror action anime and Persona. That's where I
Oof,
landed on my new campaign because people were just like, "Yeah, that's really cool."
that does sound cool. I'm
And it's an old school dungeon crawler.
Yeah, for the campaign that's upcoming. I don't know yet. I've said Grave Cleric because hey, the Winds of Dread is with Grave Cleric. That seems cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure if I'm gonna actually land on it. I have to think about it more. And
Yeah. I prefer death clerics to grave clerics personally, but that's just me.
I like Grave for some of the abilities. Death is also
Mm.
cool though. I don't want to play.
Death is just a
You know,
damage dealer.
here's the thing. In the Winds of Dread, I don't want to be evil because that
Okay.
uh, it, it feels the struggle is more real if you are good in that kind of setting. I feel
Yeah.
not necessarily that I need to
There's
be
more nuance to it.
that I need to be good in that setting, but I don't know to be evil. That's the point. Also, Son and you have a question. Please do ask.
Please.
Just feel free to type. Um, But yeah, Grave Cleric, especially we have a six-player party, I think, or 5 players, something like that. You're gonna get cancel a lot of crits there.
Hold on. Okay, that's a big one, but I would say that I think both are valid. I actually really like getting the players together and telling them the expectation of the tone
Mm-hmm.
and the setting, and then doing correspondence with each person individually. I like
Um,
doing that uh, for campaigns just because I almost want to do. This is going to sound really stupid. Oh my goodness, because it's a Mercer thing that he did for his new campaign where he paired players up. I like doing that, so I will run a level 1 to 3 game for multiple different people and go like, okay, these guys are going to be trekking through a swamp and fight a giant snake, and then they'll get to the town this way, and then these other people are going to get there through this, and maybe the two players whose schedules didn't really align to do single sessions, maybe they're just again they're hanging out together, and they just come in at like level 2 or 3.
mm-hmm.
I think that's a really cool kind of mix of the session zero
Oh yeah,
vibe and alone. I don't tend to enjoy purely alone just because you're going to get a lot of players who are building their character in a vacuum.
yeah. I
I think
think
building with the expectation of having a team is a good
I
idea. I'm
think
sorry for cutting across
having
the question.
session 0, definitely always you want to pitch your campaign in some
Mhm.
way. You want to make sure players are on the same basic idea scheme for what's going to happen. So you can agree on we are going to play D&D, but they still have to get a bit more information out there before players actually know what kind of D&D you're playing. The simple question of are we in a desert or not could maybe be important. Um,
Yeah.
and there's a million things you have to just tell them, and then they should probably work kind of together or alone out what they want to play in that. They don't need to do that together, but they should kind of at least know in general terms. Okay, we don't want a fourth paladin. I mean, maybe we do
Yeah.
want a fourth paladin, but maybe a
All
lot of
paladins, baby.
for paladins is. I mean, it can be a solid party. They have lots of heals, but my point is a lot
All
of
clerics is valid.
uh,
No,
all,
that's a good party.
all cleric, and then let's see what domains they pick. And there's just going to be a big schism in whatever church they're in. Um, but no, the point there is the players need to know at least what some of them are playing, so that they can make the character they want to make. Because again, it's cool if everyone wants to play the cleric, but if 3 players are down and the fourth guys, if they are playing clerics, I definitely won't. Then it's shitty if they have just made a cleric, right? But that's
Can I want to send you something that's
yeah,
really on this idea of pitching your campaign.
okay,
This is the most insane work I've ever seen. It's 32 pages long, but it's really good.
okay.
It's really good. This is a player's guide to Sanctuary. I'm going to send it to you in Discord. This
Mm-hmm.
is done by Phil Robb, who is a lead designer at Turtle Rock Studios, and he ran this game for himself and a bunch of other players, including Matt Colville. But this is the craziest shit ever. This tells you all about the setting, how races are perceived. Uh, it's got a lot of different art and assets in it. It's crazy. I would never expect anyone to
Yeah,
do this.
this
Now
is
I do this.
really nice. Let me actually pull up something that Drake has written
Mhm.
for a setting, because
I
Drake's
would
also,
love to. Please, please.
if I can find it right now, if it's might be a bit buried. But yeah, but let's to comment on this. Just the art direction stuff. I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
that's really
This
cool.
guy is an artist, by the way. That's
Yeah,
that's why that's why he's so good at it. But
yeah.
this is stuff that I like. I enjoy it. And if you want to make a primer, I would say you can make like a 3 to 5 page primer for your world,
Oh yeah.
and it'll be good.
And this might be a slight overkill for if you're planning to
It's
do something for your
incredibly
friends at home,
overkill.
but it is hella cool, obviously. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you can tell this guy just has lots of reference
He
photos.
knows.
He's an
He
artist
knows his
because
shit.
this is a classic reference photo.
Yeah,
Of-
this is by the way, this is what is called a story bible,
yeah.
just for your setting. I
So
tend to
where
write
is
setting
this?
bibles, and I update mine as I go. I lost my original one, by the way. I had a file that was basically my entire setting bible that I lost when I changed computers, and now my old one doesn't boot,
Ooh,
and it just doesn't work anymore. So I have to rebuild my setting Bible from scratch.
It's
But
trick.
if I would love to. I would love to see Triggs.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. The problem is it's on a Discord. It might have currently not be available for me.
Oh
We are
no!
gonna see it at some point. Is it? Wait, this might be. I have to scroll up a bunch, so please keep talking.
But and I would say I think I think a good thing can come from your players being surprised at what is being played. I think that is really cool. I think the idea that you walk into a tavern. By the way, the best player drop I've ever got was I straight up met during a festival because like my GM really liked running festivals, and so she had described a ton of different like interesting PCs to me as the point of view character, and the bit was none of these wonderful, strange, and odd PCs were my friend Chris's character. The normal guy, the regular, like bland white bread dude, who's like the most like generic person. That's him. And his whole gimmick was being like a thief and a con man. So he was the most like average looking, forgettable guy.
Okay, I can't show it
It
off.
was so
I
no
can't show
problem.
it off right now because it's currently not available, which means Drake is editing it,
Mm.
which is
Oh,
fine. I'm sure when we have them next
yeah.
time, they can show us because it's really cool.
I would love to see that. So yeah, I would say write a small setting Bible that can get past a session zero, especially if you're making your own setting.
Yeah,
Tell people what they're getting into with elves. I
yeah.
usually tell people the differences between mine and how they work. Like for example, I don't have ages on elves. There's no max cap to how old you can get.
Mm-hmm.
You could be 2,000 years old if you wanted to. I don't care.
Is this? Yeah, that is why I do elves. By the way, also by the way, um, is this a thing they put out for the general public as well? I assume.
This is something that's out for the public, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
something to be bought. It's kind of the personal setting Bible for
Okay.
Phil's Sanctuary game. This is the way where I got this from was Matt Colville's interview with him, which is fantastic. It's a good interview. Talks a lot to Phil
Yes.
about kind of his background and his philosophy on DMing and such like that. Good stuff.
Um. Okay. Let me read chat real quick. Um. Only
By the way,
run one
Gnome, I would
campaign
love
so far.
that'd be
We did
awesome.
it the first way. So while designing my new campaign, I've wondered about this. Okay. Um. The thing is, players can always create their characters alone. Do you want to get them together so they can bounce ideas off each other? Because it's one thing to be like, yeah, I want to play a fighter this time, and then another person is like, I want to be a paladin, and then maybe they okay, we are both fighty types, but you are a godly fighter. Maybe you know each other, and that's something they can't work out if you don't let them. You know,
Yeah, that's true.
and they might not have such ideas, but they can't have them if you don't allow them to at least sit together
Really,
and
again, that's where
get at
you're
it.
getting into there are pros and cons to both approaches. If you have people kind of making them alone with your help as you're kind of guiding them through, then you're getting that surprise moment where nobody really knows who anyone is on
Yeah,
first meeting, and that's a really cool reveal. But again, you are limiting your storytelling potential for a pop off that may not happen.
yeah.
And now, if you think that's a good thing, go ahead. But if you want to do the session zero, go ahead.
I mean, I've had also it happened that the player came to me later and said, "Okay, I said I would run this, but can I run that instead?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And then they had the surprise moment indirectly in that way, but it wasn't about
Hmm.
that. It was that they had a better idea for another thing. So it doesn't have to be set in stone what you do just because you had session zero. But session zero, I would always do. It just matters to
Hmm.
have people on the same general thing.
Yeah.
And as for the paladin and cleric who are in love, I like that idea. But I like it more if they don't share the same god.
Yeah.
Let's make it
I would
opposing
say,
gods.
ooh, you know what? You know what I'm going to pitch? I don't like paladins being godly. I that bothers me to such a ridiculous degree.
um,
I don't enjoy it.
define godly for me, please, before I
Okay,
comment.
so a paladin a paladin gets their power from an oath, and that does not
Hmm.
have to be to a god. It could be to an ideal or a philosophy, and I think that
Yeah,
is more interesting. I
I
think that is much more interesting. That can be godly, but not every paladin has to be an acolyte. Some of them could just be
I
heroes that
yeah,
believe in being
I
a
would
good
agree.
person.
I would agree there. Yeah, that's interesting.
Mhm.
And um, yeah, it's also if you get your powers from a god, where's the difference between a cleric and a paladin then? Really? But
How
one
much
is
they fight.
yeah,
That's
yeah. How
it,
much they
and that's
fight? That
boring.
that
That's so
is
boring.
boring. Exactly. Yes. Because
So
that's the difference between a rogue and a thief is how much how a rogue and a fighter is how much they steal, and that's also not very interesting.
exactly. That's just not that's not fun to deal with. So really, I like paladins. I think they're really cool. I think they're underused.
um, I
I think they're
think
incredibly underused.
I think interesting paladins are underused. Yes, because it's the
Mhm.
paladin is such a classic goody two shoes character normally in many settings, which
Yeah.
I disagree with.
Here's,
Paladin,
by the way, here's what I say to players when I do setting documents like this. My standard paladin is not an oath of devotion. The
oh
standard
no,
is an oath of the crown. They are an Arthurian kind of lawful neutral guy who
yeah.
is more about the crown than anything
I
else.
was about to
He
say
is interested
exactly
in holding
this. The 3.5 and earlier made the
land.
I don't remember fourth if it was there as well. Made the
Yeah,
paladin a good guy,
yeah.
but the paladin
Paladin's always a good guy
but
for it, and if you are not,
paladin
you get to be a
isn't a
blackguard.
good
Yeah,
guy. Paladin is a lawful guy.
yeah,
That's what the
exactly.
paladin is. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's and they should be lawful. It shouldn't fucking matter if they're good or evil.
I tend to talk to players and say, look, if you're taking this oath, then I'm expecting your character to work in this way, this way, in this way. And if you do not, if you stray from your oath, then you may start to bleed into another one. I like
Okay.
that. And if you completely go against it, if you pull the grain all the way back, then you might be running into you might be running more into Oathbreaker territory.
Yeah, that's why that
I
is
actually
there.
don't like the 5e Oathbreaker. I want to rewrite it because it could be so much. It's almost like decidedly evil, and I don't think that it should be.
Yeah, they still made the problem of that. It's the Oathbreaker is still lawful, so they had to.
Mhm.
So in their logic of alignments, they kind of had to make them evil, but they are. No, they
I
broke
don't
an
know.
oath. That doesn't make one evil. That makes one not. That makes one an oathbreaker. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it
By the
doesn't mean they
way,
didn't
I
try.
really enjoy. There's an old 2e supplement, by the way, that's paladins for every alignment, and they're all good. They're all fun.
Okay, don't remember that. Might never have
Uh,
read it.
it's a Dragon magazine thing. If
Okay.
you look up paladins at every alignment, you will find it.
Uh,
It has my favorite, which is the true neutral
you know what?
paladin,
You know what's not
Paramander.
what's not a thing in Germany?
What's that?
Dragon magazine.
That's true.
So I have no. I wouldn't have had the chance to know about this back in AT&T days.
Exactly. Uh,
um, Shamans are a thing in 5e, which is a shame. Shamans are cool. If I make my cleric in Locke's game, it's going to be shaman type cleric. I don't want to be a
I
full god. I want to essentially
I
be
talked about
not necessarily nature
it.
god, but maybe like kami from like the Japanese have and stuff, something
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
that's cool. Almost more like a naturalist or like a Shintoist.
Yeah,
I could get down with that.
yeah,
That's cool. That's cool.
and that fits with
I
brave
talk
as
about it
well.
all the time that I played a voodoo based cleric
Ooh, and
from
cool.
Tom Hardy's character in Taboo, which is just awesome.
I
I love that
played
character.
a voodoo-based Shadowrunner for a long time.
Ooh, neat.
That's in Shadowrun. That's really neat because it's you can get possessed by your ghosts, by your spirits, and then you are
Mm,
really powerful.
that's really cool.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I just sent you the basically it's a transcript from it that has a ton of different paladins, including the Paramander, the Fantra,
Is it
and the
like
Gareth.
is it like a salamander?
Kind of.
Okay.
No, but Paramanders are like complete neutral. They are balance obsessed. They are basically villains when they need to be and heroes when they need to be.
Oh,
Where
they
it's
are.
like, things too good, so now we gotta balance this out.
So they are what
And I like.
what they erroneously wrote the druids. Yeah.
Kind of. But what I really like about them is it's not like I gotta kill babies because too much good has been happening. It's like no, neither of these two Manichean forces can get too powerful. So like
Yeah.
if there is too much of one thing, it's a bad deal, and it's going to be kind of bad for everyone. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
rough.
Mm-hmm.
So they are there to strike down evil lords and overly benevolent kings.
That's
Either way,
yeah, that's also been my base problem with alignment. Is that good and evil? I mean, you can, of course, you can define an absolute evil as absolute good in terms of killing babies, may probably evil.
definitely.
90% of the time, unless the baby is Hitler and you know it or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
and good and absolute good, you can also define stuff there, but in game terms, I find
Can we talk
the
about alignment really
yeah,
quickly?
we
Because
can
I feel like it gets hard. It gets like way too hard line realism talked,
uh,
and not enough in terms of like the
um,
metaphysical nature.
we can, but let me finish what I've
Please do,
already been
please do.
talking. The where was I? The thing about it for me is that in normal world terms, there isn't an absolute good and evil, right? I mean, there's absolute good and
Mhm,
evil actions, but you can't find a side in a war, for example, that's evil normally
mhm.
so easily.
Yeah,
Again, 99% of the time, and
yeah. You
so
have exceptions,
yeah,
but a vast
yeah,
majority is just the soup.
and so I find it iffy that they made absolute good and evil into the outer planes. I love the outer planes in D&D, um, but they tied these things together too tightly for me, kind of, because the
Mhm.
outer planes are the absolute good and evil we talked about. That are the 1% basically. So the normal people, mostly, in my opinion, if they have good alignment, that doesn't mean they're actually that good. They're still flawed, and that's a thing
Mhm.
that doesn't come out in the alignment talk as it is in books. But what did you want to say?
So I do want to say there is actually something I feel like a lot of people who have issues with alignment need to go read the Eternal Champion series, which is it talks a lot about alignment, but not in D&D terms because it's pre D&D.
Okay.
So there's actually a period in I believe it is the Corum books where Prince Corum goes to the utmost plane of law, and he finds that it sucks because there's no change. It's like rotting. So if you look at any of these absolutes, if you get something that is absolutely good, eventually it's going to turn tyrannical no matter what it does. It's going to rot and decay. If you're looking at these things of absolutes, absolutes are not good. They're not a good
Yeah.
thing. It's not a good worldview. But I think when people are looking at this, they're looking at it with like realistic, like complicated, almost like sometimes Nietzschean views on morality, and I think that's just not a good idea. I
No.
think that's not a good idea because this is a fantasy game, this is a fantasy world. We're talking about themes being embodied by game mechanics and by cosmic mechanics. So it really depends on your on your vibe. Oh yes, only a Sith deals in absolutes, Chief.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the best line of the prequels. Yeah,
I
right
love that
there.
line.
No, wait, the best line is the one about sand, but I digress.
Sandline is good though. I
Yeah.
love it. I love how bad it is. So when you're really getting into this, I tend to point people towards Manichean dualism, which is a classical philosophical debate and standpoint that is based on the nature of evil, in which these things are cosmic, tangible forces that do battle through avatars.
Yeah.
And I think that's really helpful for D&D because like yeah, there
Indeed.
is
Yeah.
an absolute good guy. However, believing in an aspect of that absolute good guy in a really bad way can turn very, very badly.
Indeed. Yeah. And that's yeah. It's also true that these forces only define themselves and against each other in terms that work against each other, because you can't have evil without good and good without evil and stuff. Um. So
Also, if your gods are like, this is the good god who is good, I'm bored.
yeah, very much, which is why the stock pantheons in D&D are not the best.
I like the
But
Dawn War Pantheon. I
to
think that's
be
pretty
to be
good.
fair to that, they didn't really release a book about gods yet. in 5e.
The closest thing they have is Theros, which I think Theros has some of the best design for gods. They're so good. All of them have different aspects. They're complex, and being pious towards them and being a champion of a god gets you something. I think that's radical.
Yeah,
That is
and
so good.
yeah, it's again, it's like they mostly didn't put the work in yet. I don't know why.
Honestly, for D&D, what I would like is I would like a book about the gods,
Yeah.
and I would like another. I think Van Richten's is my favorite supplement they've put out so far, just because like Tasha's was an equipment manual. It was an
Mhm.
equipment manual, but also classes and other stuff.
Yeah, Tasha's felt like we wanted this could have been in the base game.
Should have been in the base game.
Yeah,
Tasha's felt like an update. It felt like a patch where it's like, oh, now classes are using their proficiency bonuses more. Classes are working on more short rest mechanics. They're actually working.
yeah. Hanging out with Gith in Limbo. I mean, Gith are too self-absorbed. I
Gith are
don't.
lame.
Yeah, Gith are lame. Well,
Gith are
both
so
both
lame.
of
I
them.
love them.
Yeah, D&D
Uh,
5.5. Yeah, kinda.
yeah, that's kind of what the Essentials kit was, by the way.
Yeah,
It was like an update to the minor stuff. I don't see them doing a full 5.5. I just don't.
I
I
don't.
don't see it.
I don't think so either. They're just gonna release more stuff that's gonna invalidate old stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
In terms of power level, not in terms of anything else. Like for example, the new sorcerers just having twice as many spells as the old ones.
Nah, fuck them. Give them half of their spells.
Yeah, indeed, give them just one. One is enough. Magic missile.
Give them just one. You have one spell. That's all you get.
But you
You
can
can
cast.
cast it forever.
You can
It's only
cast it.
one.
You can cast that spell all the time, and but it's only one. Yeah.
All I can do is time stop.
Yeah, shit. Why did I pick this one? No. Oh, imagine being that class, working yourself up to 17th level to get time stop, and then you have it, and then it does nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's so good.
But yeah, that is legit one of my big pet peeves with this. They should go back and work over the old classes that they kind of abandoned in the player's handbook, and give them
Yeah.
something in some cases, because they're not good. Sorry, Sorcerer sucks.
Yeah,
It's
it's
written.
unfortunate. They're not very good. I have argued this before. I think that the Warlock and the Sorcerer mechanically could be the same class.
Yes, they should. If you put them together, then that's immediately. I think that works. Yeah.
Because this is something this is anecdotal. A lot of players I've seen, and this is almost like a player kind of thing. Like if you're picking a class, pick it because of the flavor of the class and how much you like it, not
Yeah.
just the mechanics.
Indeed.
I've seen
Indeed.
people play so many tiefling fiend warlocks, and all they are is just like a fiend sorcerer. They don't have a pact. They don't have anything. They are just that's a natural kind of thing for them. And I think that's kind of cool. I would love to play a hexblade who did not make a pact, that they're entirely because of some curse on their family that they
Yeah.
work that way.
Why not? That's
I think
valid.
it's neat.
It's a valid one. And again, yeah, the
But again, they're both charisma casters. They're both very, very short rest heavy.
Yeah.
They could be the same thing.
Yeah, indeed. I would say not both are short rest heavy, because sorcerer gets nothing on short
Yeah,
rest.
they don't get anything on short rest. I forgot that. Yeah, they really do suck, huh? They have like
Yeah,
no
they
spell
really do
slots.
suck,
no
right?
spells,
Yeah.
Don't even get back up. Oh my god.
Yeah, but the main weakness of the warlock is that you get too few spells. So it boils down to, I do laser gun again this round, because what else can I do? Because sadly, laser gun at a higher level is better than your sword.
Laser gun is just good.
Yeah.
That depends on the sword.
Sort of, but
If you have a good sword, if you have like a really good sword, you're going to be doing more. But that's dependent on the GM giving you shit.
Indeed. Oh, I mean, you can be like giant X warlock. Why not?
Yeah, that'd be good. I like
but yeah, and then you just give them long rest and give them spells. Yeah, actually that works. I want to play that now. Because yeah, that does solve it. They just make them both. Yeah. Warcerers, we could call them.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, you know what? I'm down. I don't know. I would think about just I like the term warlock better than sorcerer. I don't know why. I think it just sounds cooler.
Yeah, I think they just kept sorcerer because they invented that first.
Yeah, it's classic. Yeah. No, I wouldn't. I would prefer if warlock had a minion master class, and they do. It's Pact of the Chain, but I think they should focus heavier on it. I think it's cool.
Pact of the Chain is They didn't even give the imp a stat line.
The imp has a stat line.
Yeah, but not for the player to see. It's just in the DM guide. It's dumb.
Are you sure? I think it's
Yeah.
in the PHB
Is
because
it?
it's an optional. Yes, it is because it's in the familiars. Imps,
Really?
sprites, and the other shit that the Pact of the Chain can do are in the
Okay.
player's handbook. I can pull it up
Okay.
right now.
I don't remember that. Oh, at the end of the book. Okay, that's possible.
Yeah, it's right at the end. Yeah,
Okay,
it's not in the class. That's
then
page.
that might be me not looking there. Okay, fair
Yeah,
enough.
there's a bunch of stuff for like basic stuff like
Oh, yeah.
skeletons and riding
Oh, yeah, I
horses.
realized that the small animals are there. I didn't realize that the imp is there. I guess I overlooked it. Well, fair enough, but they could have told you in more detail that the stats are there. Also, that imp does not scale, so it's eventually going to suck.
That's why I really like the improved Chainmaster because it allows them to scale a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It allows them to
It's
do work.
kind of a problem with most pet classes in 5e written is that the pet doesn't scale.
Yeah.
Or if it does scale, it's a matter of find a new one. We don't care that you love the wolf. The wolf sucks now. Find a bear.
That's why I like the sidekick rules in Tasha's because it allows your wolf to actually be like a side piece.
The sidekick rules did solve that, but they didn't put them in until Tasha's, which again, Tasha should have been in the base game.
Yeah, really, when it comes down to it, you look at like Xanathar's and Tasha's, and like those two things should have been the base game. And yet the player's handbook could be twice as thick and just have all of that.
Yeah. Chief, it has good aspects. I just mean, I'm level 17 Pact of the Chain. If you play that as written and you don't take improved Pact, it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to take improved Pact, which is one of your invocations gone. Whatever they're called. Are they called invocations? Yeah.
Yep, they are.
And then if that's the case, that's still bad design. Design doesn't make the imp fucking scale. It's a thing you get to level 3.
Or maybe make it so that you get Find Familiar, but you can transform that familiar as if you have cast something like Summon Greater Demon or Summon Fae.
Yeah, the classic thing is just polymorph your familiar.
I think you can do so much with that.
Yeah.
I think that would be really neat.
Polymorph into big fucking ape. Or whatever you have.
Exactly. People really like that Find Familiar, huh? They just really like having a little buddy.
Yeah, that's the best part about the Ring of Spellstoring. You can put it in the ring, and then you give the ring to your buddy, and then they can cast Find Familiar, even if they are a fighter or something.
Yeah.
And everyone has a little critter.
Goodness. I don't know. I'm also not really into minion master classes in general, just because I think that 5e is so based on how initiative works and how many combatants are actually in an event. Like who was it? Was it just it was Zbashu just put out a video like how to break the initiative by summoning 8 raptors.
Yeah.
And it's like if your player does that one, I think they're an asshole. And I think you shouldn't play with that person. And also that person's me.
In Chief's game, I'm currently playing a shepherd druid who summons animals and stuff. Or rather, well, it's it's pony gods, but whatever. Let's not dwell on that for too long. And it is extremely powerful. Hi, Bruce. Because action economy is super important. Having just a few more d20s to roll for attacks and stuff means a lot.
I've also just been I'm real with my players whenever they do something like that. I say like, look, man, if your thing is going to be summoning a bunch of monsters, then I'm going to put more combatants on the field.
Yeah, well, I expect nothing less. And
I already put a lot. If you talk to any of my players, I make incredibly complex, very very minion heavy encounters that expect you to use things like cover and disarming and shoving and pushing. Like I expect you to do all of these things.
That's cool.
By the time you've played in one game with me, I expect you to play like you've played D&D before.
Good. I do like it. And Sergeant Pie, hi.
Hello, Pie.
It is just how do I say? For me the issue is as someone who mostly DMs, summoning is just extra headache for everyone. It's you have to keep track of the stats. I have to keep track of where more enemies are, or more things are, and so on. You can play it. I wouldn't say no, but I would always run it past your DM or my DM if I wanted to play it. because it's just more work.
I think it's neat, but again, it's something where you just gotta giant mountain goat as a mount. That's good stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it's a
when it really gets down to it,
sheep girl riding a
I
mountain
like
goat. That's cool.
it.
I stand.
I I really go down to if you are going to make that step, then I just expect your GM to reciprocate because
Yeah,
the game being quote unquote broken is only broken as long as they allow it to be.
oh yeah.
Always remember that you have never broken D and
No,
D.
yeah.
You will not break
As a
it
player, you
because the
can't. Yeah,
DM can break you.
you can only break the DM, but you can't break the game. Um,
Like, I'm kind of a person. If anybody has spoken with me for long enough or disagreed with me, they will know I am incredibly confrontational. Uh, if a player decides to be a dick and challenge me and make players really upset at my table, usually I'll just kick them out. But if somebody's starting on that path, I will usually just go, look, the stronger you get, the stronger the world gets.
yeah.
Easy.
Um,
So if you want to make a crazy min-maxed character who's going to obliterate people in one shot, I'm going to put in abilities that will make it not happen.
the game I'm playing in with the summoner in is also
Oh,
I consider summoner there because the only other frontline we currently have is a monk,
okay.
and that's not very much frontline, you know.
Yeah, that's very.
um,
Ooh, whoa.
and that monk doesn't have a happy time if there's no friend for them
Mhm.
to get advantage from or something or help action or whatever. And so I have a few put some stuff in the front, and then everyone in the back is happy. Um, in our game, the warlock is frontline half the time if they feel like it. Yes, if they feel like transforming into the big bad thing. But I can't rely on that. And if they do it, hey, cool. Yeah, it's fine. Chief wrote a thing. Our warlock can be a barbarian if they want to, which is cool.
Oh,
It's a Hulk situation basically. Um,
mm,
and yeah. By the way, and never be afraid to homebrew stuff. If it's
yeah.
fun and fits into your game, it's totally valid. Uh,
Just do it. Just it's cool.
yeah.
Like it's cool. I would say that a player likes a bespoke item more than just a regular one. As much as they're going, I have a 100% uh, philosophy on it that I think that no item should come out as a flame tongue. I don't think any +1 sword should come out.
Hmm.
In the DMG, there's a fantastic thing of minor properties and like who it was made by. So if you have a +1 sword, roll on that fucking table and see who made it, what benefit it gets. I mean, even in the Fendelver game I'm running for my family, they found the sword in there. There's a +1 sword somewhere in that campaign named Talon, and I love it. And I went, all right, so I'm going to roll this up, and it's made by these guys and these guys. And it I think gives a bonus to initiative, and it glows when goblins are around. I'm like, oh, that's a goblin heavy campaign. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a good game.
Giving
That is a good weapon.
giving stuff extra flavor is cool. I'm very fond of giving intelligent items out.
I love intelligent items. I like intelligent items to a degree in which I would almost consider them to be another spellcaster. But I'm going to explain that really specifically. Uh, Black Razor in fifth edition
Hmm.
is possibly my favorite magic item in the book, and it can cast haste on its user, but only when it decides.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Only
Yeah.
when it does it. And so the idea of somebody arguing with their sword and going, fucking cast haste already, you stupid hunk of metal. And he goes, well, no, I'm not doing it. I love that
Yeah. Say
because Black
please.
Razor is kind of a fastidious, rude boy. And I
Yeah.
like that. That's really neat. So again, if you're
So
going to run intelligent items, I think that's the way to go about
uh,
it.
where it's yeah. Eventually, you get to a point where if you like, oh yeah, it's I don't know. This campaign has run for years. We have lots of magic items, which is kind of the thing in D&D because well, loot is gonna pile up.
Yeah.
It's harder and harder to make it interesting. Um, but do try, yeah, for sure. Do try.
I like to award players with things that will spend their money. Like I really like awarding them with a deed and having them build a castle. Then again, that's from that like AD&D kind of mentality of where as you would level up, you would get followers and you would get like an army. Just naturally, people would flock to you because you're a hero.
Oh yeah,
And like if you're a fighter, people are gonna go, this guy's a really good fighter. I might want to follow him and be part of his cool little mercenary unit. It's just gonna happen.
that is really missing from 5e. I feel like yeah.
I miss it. I miss it a lot. I think any attempt to add it in has not done very well. Like even Colville's Strongholds and Followers is not very like it's not what I want.
Hmm. I agree.
It's like it's okay. I use it very frequently though. I do like using his Stronghold stuff. I just have to heavily edit it so it's not garbage. The guy put a retainer system in that's just awful. It's much worse than the sidekick system that Tasha's came out with like 2 years later. But yeah, when it really comes down to it, I want my players to have a stake in the world, and I want them to have a location that feels like theirs. And man, do I miss that kind of stuff. And I don't think it's that difficult to do. It's even in like the DMG how to continuously run like a castle and the upkeep on it and how much you have to spend and how much you gain. Cool stuff that can happen. Like that stuff's all in the game already, but people are not using it.
Uh,
And I think
Totally.
it's
Yeah.
just because they're not
Totally.
directed to. They're not being told that this is something. There hasn't been an adventure that explicitly gives your players a castle. Except in Fandelver, you can like take over that manor, but it's not like described, you know? It's not sold to you.
Yeah. You just the DM has to do the lifting there, and if they don't, it's just gonna be
Mhm.
boring. Yeah.
Yeah. It's rough, but I can guarantee if you give your players stake in the world and the politics of that world, they will get into it and they will engage with your setting more. Like any piece of lore or any piece of setting detail, if the players aren't going to engage with it, that's just for you. So make it not for you anymore. Make it for everyone. Make it a part of your story and what the players care about.
Yeah.
Like, why do they want to do this? Why does their character want to do anything? I totally allow people who are nobles to be like, "Can I be the baron of this castle at level 1?" Sure,
Yeah.
sure. You're gonna have to run it.
And level doesn't isn't it's just your combat ability basically. It's not a measure of
Yeah,
who you are. Yeah.
yeah. You can be an incredibly powerful, like the noble stat block out of the DMG has like 12 hit points,
Oh yeah.
and they have like a parry, and that's it. They're not very powerful. Level 1 nobles are totally a thing.
Tons of them. Yeah.
I think it would be rare to have like an adventurer or a hero ruler as much as I like that. However, I think your king should be pretty tough. Your king or queen should be beefy
Yeah. Usually those
if they're
people
a hero.
have earned their place, unless the point of the settings that they haven't.
I really enjoy the classic Oath of the Crown, like Paladin King. I think that stuff's choice.
Yeah. Depends what kind of land it is. Yeah. Sure.
That's true. That's true. I just like paladins. Like I'm thinking of it, like I'm looking at this plethora of paladins. And I'm like, oh, I love the Illriggers so much. I love them. They're so strong. They're a Hell Knight. How could you not get hyped for that?
I'm not unhype. Just wait. I'll go back to
If it
this
was
one.
available, I would totally ask Locke if I could be an Illrigger.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe you can
I would,
just they allow you anyway. Who knows?
yeah. I would have to either like make a new one because I don't think Oath of Conquest really gets it, and I don't want to use Colville's Illrigger as much as cool as it is. There's no integration with the tool that I use, unfortunately.
If
D&D Beyond
this,
does not like you making new classes.
I'm not. Are we gonna use Beyond?
I
Is it
tend to use it just to structure my character sheet,
okay?
but I don't
Okay.
think that's going to be overall the usage.
Okay. I have no idea.
I don't know.
I just know
That's something that
my
we're
character
figuring
is
out.
not gonna be very good at combat.
Oh, nice. I kind of want to make a combat heavy character. Like my main idea that I'm sticking on is almost like a variation on what's his name? Foundry is cool, man.
Foundry
Foundry
is
is really cool.
super cool. I've played a game in Foundry once, and it's
I'm
really
trying to get
it's
this guy.
really cool stuff in it. Yeah, I would.
Oh, there he is.
If you
I'm
have
kind of
the
thinking about like
let's say if you have the brain power and fortitude to learn it, then go for it. Yeah.
mhm.
If you don't, roll 20 is still good because it's easy. I use roll 20.
My idea for a character, my first one that I saw ever since Van Richten's came out was like I kind of want to play Aaron Eckhart's Adam from I Frankenstein, because as much as that movie sucks, I love the idea of playing like an intelligent and super powerful like investigator undead. I think that's a really cool idea. I like the idea of being the stitched together man.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have this.
With
The
my
more I
stats,
think
I
about
should
it,
play Adam. That
if
would be
you
really
if
cool.
your stats, you can play anything. If your stats, yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Can make you have yourself have 3 16s to start. It's pretty awesome. We have 118 and then 2 16s at level 4. If you want to not take a feat.
I actually don't like ASI. I don't like taking them.
Yeah, I don't like
I,
taking
I
them
like
either.
I like feats more, and I still think that feats should be something that you gain from deeds. I think they should be rewards for your player character instead of something that you spend ASIs on.
I've found somewhere, I forgot where, sorry, but a book of minor feats like which you can hand
Mhm.
out as rewards more easily. Because the
I would
feats,
even hand out stuff like for like Polearm Master after a player's
uh,
trained on it.
no,
I think it would be nice.
obviously, but that book has just it's a PDF. It's just like 200 more, which are of all sizes, and you can be like, yeah, you are here. You have the feat now. You're a language master. You have 2 languages because you just studied it and stuff. Because that's something you wouldn't normally give out. You know, you can, of course, you can just be like, yeah, you learned that somehow in game, but the book just had a bunch of anything
If
you
you can
want to
find it, let
learn.
me know.
Yeah, I will try. It's
I even like seeing things like new warlock invocations and stuff
oh
like
yeah.
that. That stuff's really cool. I can't wait until Beyond actually adds that functionality like they should have like 2 years ago.
My issue with finding a lot of this stuff is sadly that after I got this PC pretty new, I got it at the end of last year, and shortly before I had switched over, um, or shortly after I switched over to it, before I could save all the files, my old hard drive died, so some stuff got
Mm.
lost. So I'm not sure what I have
Ooh,
and what
I'm,
I
I'm
do.
I'm gonna have to take like a 1 minute break. I will be right back.
Sure, sure. Uh, and again, Foundry, really cool. Because yeah, I mean, simply for one thing, I have not seen much of Foundry. I will freely admit that. But movement is really cool with it, and you can have animated maps, and animated maps are just choice. We had one thing, and there was just a few the koi pond, and there was some koi swimming in it. That was really nice, and but the DM who made that, they told me it's difficult. So I haven't looked into it because I do not have the time to learn how to do it. Uh, so any other questions or topics we should discuss when Emery gets back? By the way, dear chat, I've enjoyed this a lot so far. I will just say, and I will also say, really look forward to Prime Directive next week, I guess, because oh my god, that book is fucking fucked. I can't even begin to tell you how fucked it is. I don't know. Then I mean, it's spoilers. Have you read it, Son and? Have you looked into it? Yes. Again, we would have done that today, but because Drake is ill. I mean, just excited. Let me just tell you real quick what Prime Directive is. You might think, yeah, that's a Star Trek role playing game, right? No. Prime Directive. The license these people bought is they bought in the 70s. Back when there was only the original series, maybe the cartoon had come out. I'm not sure what the exact years on that is off the top of my head, but anyway, they bought it around that time. There was no movies, there was no TNG, there was no anything, and they bought that license to make board games, and they made a war game of some kind. And then the same company in 1993, when TNG was in season something, 6, 7, I don't know. I had googled that DS9 had started to air at that time, you know? So around that time, they released this book. But it is still based on the license they bought in 1970 something, which only includes basically Starship Enterprise, Kirk, Federation, end of story. And everything they made up themselves. And it is not good things they made up, let me tell you that much. We'll get into that. But so essentially, this is a product written like an early 80s product, if you ask me. Came out in 1993. And without spoiling too much for next time, but it hates its source material, and that is so choice.
It's Star Trek fan fiction.
Yeah, no, it isn't.
Hello, I'm back.
I just,
It's so close.
I
It's
just,
so close.
I
It's
just
awful.
explained the Earth's history. Just
I
real
had
quick.
my headphones in the whole time.
Okay, okay,
I did hear.
yeah,
Yes,
okay, cool.
I think that series or that game is so fascinating to sit on
Yeah,
a license for that long. But
yeah.
anyways,
This was just a
yes.
small aside from me because that book lives
Mhm.
rent free in my head again after I reread some of
Oh
it.
my god, no.
It's so bad.
Not me. Not me.
Yeah, it is so
I
fucking bad
oof.
in all of the respects. But let's not dwell on it.
It's rough. But yes, let's move forward. By the way, that it is an 80s style
It's
tabletop RPG because
it's
90s
yeah,
tabletop RPGs were not crunchy.
right. I said it. It's 80s style.
Hmm. Yeah.
A license from the
So,
70s,
oh
and
man,
they hate their source material. It is amazing.
God, 90s RPGs are so interesting
Yeah.
because they came out in a time and they were almost snooty about the old style. They
Oh
were
yeah.
like, "Well, we're real storytelling tools now. How dare you have game in that?"
Can
Oh,
completely
and
chart that.
I thought it
Pretty
was so
sure.
funny.
When did Vampire come out? When did White Wolf start
It was in the
things?
90s.
Yeah.
That it was Vampire. Vampire started
Right.
it 100%.
Exactly. The crunchy
As
games
much as I
were
like Vampire.
the crunchy games were the big thing, and then White Wolf was
Mhm.
founded in '91. I just googled, and
Yeah.
they made good games that were story driven and not that
Mm.
crunchy. They were still crunchy, but not that crunchy. And so people suddenly learned, hey, we can make story driven games. And then they pivoted way too hard in that direction.
Mhm.
I mean, to be fair,
Definitely.
the old Heartbreakers, they were all like, I mean, they were, imagine this table. Let's divorce it from if it's good or bad. Imagine
Mhm.
just pages and pages of these tables. And
That was every Heartbreaker.
yeah, and imagine them being filled with garbage, and then you have
Mhm.
Heartbreaker RPGs. And the '90s is just we have. I bought this on a napkin, and this is my game, and it's just as bad, but at least it gets to the point faster.
For those of you who don't know what Heartbreakers are, imagine now the glut of Powered by the Apocalypse and Fate hacks we have. That was
Oh yeah,
Heartbreakers.
yeah, indeed.
Which, by the way, I meme on them all the time, but I have not seen. I think maybe one out of every 20 Fate hack or Powered by the Apocalypse game I've seen is good.
Yeah,
The rest of them are absolute dreck,
that is the
which
same.
I
This is
feel so
just
bad about because you're handicapping yourself on your
yeah.
design career by sticking to these overly simplistic games.
It is our exact yeah. It is our Heartbreakers these days.
Mhm.
At least they are small now and easy to read.
Yeah, that's true. At
Um,
least they're
and
not 80 pages of
and
tables.
they are an interesting design exercise in a way, more so than
I don't enjoy the design of either of those systems,
no.
frankly.
It's fair enough. That is fair enough. For some people, it is an enjoyment.
I find there's just not enough game.
Yeah,
There's just not enough game.
I'm not defending them, to be very clear. It's
Oh
just
no,
a thing of
it's totally valid.
yeah,
It's whatever you want to do. Like if you want to play the games, you can play the games. I just don't enjoy them. That's
yeah,
just where I'm at.
I agree. And yeah, it's a sign of the times. Just um,
Mhm.
I feel like we had the '80s with war game roots, and we have to be as crunchy as the war games, so that
Mhm.
the players who like the war games get interested. And then you have people who actually don't like that, and they make some story-driven games, and then everyone has to be even more story-driven to the point where
Mhm.
that becomes bad because if there's no structure, then people don't know what they can and can't do. Which, spoiler alert, is the reason why you know your stats in D&D isn't so that you can
Mhm.
roll on them; it's that you know what your character is.
Yeah,
And
exactly. You have concrete knowledge of your character,
yeah, if you know the
which by the way
maps,
is why D&D has set for so long.
yeah,
Is because
indeed,
it's a good medium between the two.
yeah, absolutely.
You see that starting to happen with second edition, and then by third edition, this was a story game, which is why when fourth edition came out, nobody cared about it because it was too
Yeah,
wargamey.
that's indeed, yeah, that is very true. Indeed, it was
And
wargamey,
then I think,
and it felt
yeah,
like computer gamey as well to me,
mhm,
which is also
mhm.
a sign of the times because that's the association you make, far more people will make
That's the
now.
WoW. That's the WoW
Because
age.
yeah, the WoW age. Because yeah, I mean, tabletop in the '80s that was the done thing, and in the 2000s, or 2010s or whenever that came out, that's
It was
computer games
kind
were
of the
just the
late
done thing. Yeah,
2000s.
yeah, whatever.
Mhm.
Um,
And now you have 5th edition, which gets hate from everyone, despite the fact that it's kind of the best middle ground
Yeah,
D&D has ever published.
I think the main hate the only hate I can pile on it is that it just there's so hard to find other games.
Well, yeah, it's because it's just ubiquitous with
Yeah,
tabletops at this point, and that's frustrating.
I long for a Shadowrun game.
How to ease people who only play D&D into another system? I like that. That's another new player question, or
Hmm.
like kind of mid GM question that I really
Yeah,
like.
we're also just talking
Really,
about that kind of.
really, when you get down to it, you have to pitch it to your players.
Yeah,
Like if your players go, no, only D&D, only this, and you're like, but I want to run Lancer, then I'm just gonna kind of blanket statement. Your friends will play the game that you want to run if you can sell it to them.
indeed.
But if all they want to play is D&D, then they may not actually be your friends. They're just your D&D group. Because a friend will accept what you want to do creatively and what you want to do for fun and play into that.
Yeah,
Especially if you're the person running it. Remember, it's your table. Like, as much as we say it's our table and we're all doing this creatively, at the end of the day, you're the person, you are the Xbox, right? You are the one the game is running on.
indeed, indeed.
So
Um,
you are a sentient Xbox. You get to decide what game is played. And if they don't want to sit on the couch that day, that is their problem.
I'd say that yes, you are the sentient Xbox. But don't feel bad. It's fine. Um, if you like GameCube more, you can be that or whatever consoles are out now. The conceit there, it's fine if your D&D group is your D&D group. By the way, not everyone has to be your best friend to play
Exactly.
D&D with. Totally
Yeah.
valid. But if you want to ease them into something else, the best thing is to get them excited first. For example, back when when I ran my long-running D&D campaign, I was
Hmm.
burnt out at one point because I had DM'd for a year straight, and I just wanted to play something and didn't want to DM anymore.
Yeah.
So, and since my players agreed that maybe it was time someone else tried their hand because some of them even wanted to, then none of them wanted to do it in D&D or anything because it they didn't want to almost didn't want to go get on my turf in that way.
Yeah.
And it was a thing then as well that I don't want to read the monsters because you use the monsters and so on and so forth and everything there. And then I was like, hey, no, let's do a movie night, and then we watched Johnny Mnemonic, actually.
Oh, I love that film.
Oh yes, and I introduced
Oh,
some
that
people to
film's
Johnny
good.
Mnemonic, and after the movie night, they were, what now? Now we make Shadowrun characters,
Yes.
and that worked super well.
Hmm. But I would say, yeah, if you want to ease people in, really start with the story and start with the tone and setting.
Yeah,
Basically, just say like, I want to run like this. I usually drum up, even if I'm doing a D&D game, I will drum up a couple of things that are reference points for people to understand the setting and the vibe.
indeed.
So again, if I was running like a cyberpunk or a Shadowrun game, I would definitely get into stuff like like Johnny Mnemonic. I don't really think The Matrix, but
Yeah,
definitely like Blade Runner
yeah.
and your classics.
I wanted to, yeah, Blade Runner would be a good one, but to set tone. But I want to give them something fun because I knew
Yeah,
what my players wanted, and I know that was the
that's
same
true.
group that started because they liked Lord of the Rings so much that I
Hmm.
could pitch playing D&D to them. So that was
Mm.
just I knew that would work, so I did it again. So
Yeah,
yeah, find out what your
exactly. I think
players would
again,
respond
pitching
to,
it,
and then yeah, pitch it in some way.
pitch it. And here's the thing: if you have run a game before that you have pitched and you do the same thing, but D&D's not on the sheet, that will still work, by
Oh
the
yeah,
way. If you
for
if you're
sure.
going in and you're like, okay, you pitch 3 different D&D campaigns and you run one of those and it's to like level 7 or something, and then you go, all right, guys, we're wrapping up, we're getting into a new game, and then you pitch like a Lancer game, a Shadowrun game, and a Vampire the Masquerade game. They will choose which one,
Yeah,
and they will not complain that D&D is not there because they have a plethora of choice.
indeed.
And if somebody does, then you know.
Oh yeah,
Then you know,
that's
like, oh, you're here for the D&D, and that's it.
super good point. It's give them a choice as well, of course. Yeah,
Mhm.
the movie night thing was because okay, none of us really knows what to do,
Yeah,
and so let's do something else, and then movie night, and then yeah, one thing led to another basically because by then I had found Shadowrun.
yeah,
Um, it's not manipulation so much as it's hey, do you want to play that? Yeah, that's hella cool. I want to be the guy with the big arms who punches through walls. perfect. That's your character. Then let's see how we can make that. Because I also don't know
Yes.
the rules yet. That was literally that day. I had the base core book, but I didn't have any idea. Then we learned together. That was fun.
Mhm. Learning a new system with your friends is also a fun time.
Oh yeah,
Like nobody's the master here, nobody's the veteran. We're all going to kind of get through that.
yeah.
That's how I am with Lancer, and I really want to run that with somebody.
I have not read. What is Lancer? Is it?
Lancer is a mecha game, but it is
Ooh,
it is more kind of on the it's a good like balance between that kind of Gundam and Mech Warrior vibe. I would almost say like the vibe is Iron Blooded Orphans, where it's like beam weapons are rare. It's a little bit more kind of muddy and gritty.
yeah.
It's the only
You
system I've seen in which your pilot has abilities and your mecha has abilities.
you had me at Mecha, and that's it. I want to read that now because I
It's really good.
I really want a good mech game, and I'm sorry the
Mhm.
mech warrior RPG isn't
They're
that.
not good. It's
No,
unfortunately very poor. But
the
Lancer is really good. They
okay.
also have a really good online tool for building and kind of the progression system in that game is really weird because as your character gets experience, they basically get licensure to use other stuff. Basically, like think about it as you level up, your level ups are not I get stronger, I get more health. It's I have proven myself as a pilot and therefore I can use heavier equipment.
Yeah,
I can use more specialized equipment.
that
And I think that's perfect. That's
if
exactly what it should
yeah,
be.
if you play if the campaign makes sense. I always find those a bit iffy if the campaign is you're a space pirates or whatever. Then I mean I guess it's still a rank you get. You're still the senior pirate or whatever. You have to
Mhm.
reflavor it a bit, but it works.
Yeah, you
Uh,
can definitely fit it for
yeah,
mercenary campaigns and
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah. Okay,
But yeah, learning about a new rule system, that is something where that's just a mindset. Like I said, if you go at it like, "Hey, I may be the GM, but we are all learning together, and I'm going to be gentle with you guys, be gentle with me, and we're going to just work through it. Some sessions may drag a little bit, but just make set that expectation that it may be uh, it may be something that you have to learn on the fly. But your players, if they're good people, if they're nice people, if they're your friends, they're going to bend to that, and they're going to be like, "All right, it's all good."
and learning the new rule system. Okay, it helps
Mhm.
if you know it. I would say
Yeah.
my way of let's play Shadowrun. Then here's the core book. Is I bought this yesterday. Might not be the best idea. It worked in my case because everyone was still hyped to play something. Um,
Mhm.
learn the system because I mean, if you're interested in role playing games, just reading them is fun anyway. Like reading Prime Directive was fun in its own
Mhm.
perverted way. Um,
Yes. So
but
happy to have read that.
if they, I mean, if they don't in current year where I am also I have a job and I have VTube and stuff, I don't read as many things as I used to, and that is sad, but it's a reality. If they don't have the
Mhm.
time to invest, you might have to do the work for them a bit, and
Mhm.
it's a difference between how do I build a perfect character in Shadowrun. It's actually that you could write a whole book about that, and it would still not explain it properly because there's so many little tweaks and twists you can do in that system. It's way more involved than D&D, that's for sure. Um, But it doesn't matter. You can build their character. They just have to learn how to play it. The play they have to be hyped for. That's basically the thing. They
Yeah.
they have to be interested. The rest will come on its own.
I don't think that it's that difficult when you're really getting down to it to learn a new system. It just takes time. And yeah,
Yeah.
we're all adults. We all have those. We all have the life problems that get in that way. And a like I've been saying, a good friend is going to understand.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
so if you mess up and you don't understand how this combat run works, oh, last thing I would say, get a good cheat sheet. A good cheat sheet
Oh
will go
yes,
far.
yes, 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 yes.
Straight up. I've been running the Star Wars RPG now for like almost 2 years. I still use a cheat sheet every single time.
A good
Every single time.
if you're at a table, a good DM screen will have all
Mhm.
necessary information for you to just
Yep.
look at, and that's what they are for. They are not for to hide your roles and stuff. That's actually kind of I don't know. I don't usually hide my roles.
I tend to do them I tend to do my rolls blind, and then if it's something that's incredibly important, I will, set it out in front of people.
Yeah,
So, like, if
and
I'm doing a 1v1 with somebody,
mhm.
unless I really want to maintain kind of that mystery and the tension, I'll do it in front of people.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it depends. If it's like,
Mhm.
what do I know about this person? I would roll that secretly, of course. Just, um, that's just how the game works. But I don't
Yep.
care if I roll normal combat stuff behind the screen or not. Usually it's behind the screen because I'm sitting there. Um, yeah, okay, there wasn't a new question. What else do we have, my friend?
Oh goodness. I would say, like, what's a good place to start? Really, like, we've talked about how to do
Mm-hmm.
it, but really, what is your best advice starting a new game that isn't just do it? For me, it's find an adventure that resonates with you, and if that's something like Against the Cult of the Reptile God, or Village of Hamlet, or Red Hand of Doom, don't start with Red Hand of Doom. That's a tier 2 adventure.
I would go.
Um,
I would go a bit more meta in my approach. Ask yourself what you
but
want,
yeah,
and
basically,
there's two big things that you can answer there, in my opinion. One is I want to play D&D. The other is I want to play D&D with my friends.
yes.
If it's the former, um, you have to deal with some weirdos probably. No offense to anyone, but the
Yeah,
people
we're
you
kind of
can,
weird.
you will have to, not even us, and it's not even that I say people are weird in general, though some
Yeah.
can be. It's more like, okay, this means you probably don't have a full group ready to go because
You're gonna have to
you
do
need
some
people.
legwork.
So yeah, and calling you out for experience I have with few people who we tried out, Chief. Yes. Um, I will maybe get to those stories at one point.
Oh, I will say, anytime you are starting a group, you will remember the really weird person forever, and it will
Oh
be
yes.
the funniest shit. If you're in a group with friends and you're like, we met this one guy who always played like female elf archers, and they would always end up in some kind of precarious lewd situation.
Yeah.
You were going to remember that guy forever, and you were going to be making jokes about lewd elf
Oh
archers
yes, yes,
forever.
yes. They were always in the washing machine for some reason. I don't know why. The no, my point there is if the goal is to play D&D, then find people who also want to play D&D, and then that is your campaign. They might not be the best people to hang out with otherwise, but you are there for the shared hobby, and that's fine. If you play with your friends, though, it's hangout time with your friends primarily, and and it should always be that. And if that means stuff is gonna be your big, awesome campaign of doom and gloom isn't something they like, then don't run it for them, or change it if you realize they don't like it, because it
Oh,
is
100% run kind of
yeah
generic when you start.
yeah
Like, don't go hard. Like, just run a nice, simple game. I would even say stay away from like the save the world plot.
yeah
All you need is the blacksmith's daughter son kidnapped by goblins.
yeah.
Go
I,
do your thing.
the general terms, I mean, is
Mhm.
prioritize having your friends having a good time over
Yep.
your stuff in that case. And that's not the case if you just want to play D&D and have the D&D experience or role play experience, whatever game you might
Yep.
play. I saved the word from Rats. Yeah? I mean, if it's
That's Plague Story, isn't it?
is it Skaven, then that's not easy. Also, to quickly, the two things I remember most with Chiefs game,
Mhm.
where I was the player, there was two people we tried out. One just played a cleric. Um,
Ooh.
Interestingly, all bad people we tried out played clerics, but okay, we're getting two stories now. The first one, played cleric, cast guiding bolt each combat round until they didn't have any more, and then they ran into combat to die because they didn't like the character.
Okay.
And that was weird enough to all involved that we just said, no, we don't want to play with you anymore.
Yeah, that's really strange.
And the other one was, yeah, I've also played cleric, and I meet you guys at this basically haunted forest, with these man-eating plants and monsters and whatever. And even the main road is not safe, and everyone will tell you, don't go there. So I go. So after meeting the group and having the DM basically plonk you down right next to them so that you can meet them, so that you don't die, I choose to wander alone into the woods at night. because I heard a sound. And
I
then
love that.
I wander, and then I wander, and then I die. And then I
Wow.
and then I complain, and then I said I don't want to play with this person anymore, and everyone agreed. And
Yeah,
yeah.
I would also not like that. That's ridiculous.
And it was also it was a thing of it wasn't a new player. They knew what
Mhm.
they knew mechanically what they were doing. I have no idea what their plan was. Also, their avatar was of a big beefy muscle dude, and I didn't understand it. And we had all that
Oof.
character art, and they were just bodybuilder picture ripped
Yeah,
straight from Google,
I I love that.
which is
I think that's amazing.
for a first session fine. And I was like, okay, if that's a joke, I guess it's okay. I can deal. Um, yeah, it
I don't think I've
was.
ever used a Google search image as my character portrait, but I feel like if I was playing like a character now and I did that, I would want to have Daniel Radcliffe with the two guns.
Fair enough. I mean, again,
That would be my vibe.
if it's like, yeah, it's my first game, I don't have art yet, then I mean, like, yeah, fuck, whatever.
Literally, just go do a pit crew. I tell people to do that all the time. Just
Yeah,
go get one.
that was kind of before those things became a thing.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that is true. But now that we're here, like it's like if you don't
yeah,
have character art, just go make a pit crew
yeah,
and slap that on
indeed,
there. That's what I
indeed,
have right
yeah,
now
yep, yep.
for my Catman because I don't have any art for him. Like straight up.
And if you know what that is, that's if you don't know what that is, that's basically an avatar makers. You can find a ton of them now.
There are a billion.
Yep.
They are helpful. They're incredibly helpful.
Uh,
But shoot, do you have anything else you want to get into? Do you have anything that you would like to talk about to kind of end on? Because it do be your show.
yeah, it do be my show. I would say Chief has another question.
Mm.
I have to admit, after about 2.5 hours, I'm always running out of ideas for this. So we are at that point.
Exactly.
But
That's the good.
let's wait for Chifo.
There we go. All right. Keep looking at the shine on your latex. It looks so nice.
Oh. Second example. Oh, the second example. This we already talked about. I'm sorry, I misread it.
Oh.
But I guess there's something else.
Oh, no problem.
And thank you. My artist did great work.
Mhm. Really,
Oh yeah.
truly. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's up? What's up with
Yeah.
sidekicks? I love them.
I remember that.
Hmm.
Those rules are good. Hey, he's
I'd
allowed.
stare at whatever I like, Eolus.
He's allowed. That's fine. Survivors
Uh,
from Van Richten's. I have not.
Let me look. I think I missed that one, but let me take a look. Let me go look at.
I am supremely behind on all those new books.
I opened Van Richten's and I gave it a skim through when it came out, and then I kind of stopped. But let me take a look. All right. Ba, ba, ba. Where is that? In what area is that? Because I'm looking at it, I'm not seeing something exact. Or oh, there we are. Survivors. There we go. Ba, ba, ba. Okay, so survivors are pre-made characters. I like that. That's kind of cool. Just like immediate.
Well, yeah, premates are very
Edits,
helpful.
kind of like, yeah, they're just like regular dudes.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
thing.
this is cool. This is actually cool. They have like a basic stat block kind of thing. Let me look at that. Um, all right, so oh, they get like talents and such. That's kind of neat. They're everyday people kind of doing things. I like this. This is a good system. I think they should have implemented something like this for like regular bystanders outside of the horror stuff. I like this.
Is it regenerated or what? What does it do?
No. Okay, so basically I'm gonna just list off a couple of these survivor talents. These are
Mhm.
basically like people who have up to like third level. So
Okay.
like first level survivor is like a regular stat block, like a commoner.
Okay.
Second level they get a talent. Third level they get a talent.
Okay.
So you can get things like adrenaline surge. At the start of your turn, you can choose one creature within 30 feet of you. Until the start of your next turn, you are frightened of that creature and your walking speed is doubled. So you basically just immediately make yourself frightened and run away.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Desperate
great.
Scream. Whenever you make a saving throw, you can summon your desire to live in a desperate scream. You gain advantage on the saving throw, and the scream is audible up to 100 feet away. You can scream in this way twice, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. There are
It's awesome.
things that give you a first level spell from the cleric or from wizard, and you can cast it once per long rest.
I like this. I like all of those
Yeah,
things.
it's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
that's some
This is
flavor
one
for
that I
the game.
really like. This is one that I think is really cool. It requires it being a squire survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. But so when a creature you see makes an attack against a target you can see within 5 feet of you, you can use your reaction to become the target of the attack instead.
Yeah.
If you are wielding a shield, you can reduce the damage by 1d10. That is
Ooh.
awesome. Like you could straight up just like,
Yeah, you
Mr.
can.
President, get down, and then your squire jumps in front of you and takes the hit and dies.
That's great. That's great.
I love that. That's so cool.
Why don't you give them shields? Shields are expensive. Squires
And
come
then
free.
they basically just they basically have just like mini stat blocks. I think I would use these as the basis for the sidekicks and Tasha's, because you got things like apprentices, which are just like baby wizards, and then sneaks, which are just baby thieves,
Mm-hmm.
disciples, baby clerics, squires, baby fighters.
Yeah.
I like this. I like this a lot. I
Well,
would combine these two rule sets.
this sounds like something I would even have fun giving to players. Maybe
No, Chief. I'm down.
possibilities.
I'm down with it. They're a fighter based person. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
this.
It sounds cool. Um. And a few Emery. Okay.
I like these. These are cool. I'm
Oh, yeah.
digging this
I
system.
mean, I would have to get it because I don't have it, but yeah, I would be down. It sounds like they have good ideas.
Yeah.
Real quick, by the way, for most games these days, you get pre-made characters. A very simple trick to start a game quicker is to just, everyone plays them, and you agree that at some point later, if the player wants to remake the character, they're just allowed. Because
Oh,
that
I do
little
the
let me just finish this, please.
yeah.
That
Please
that
do. Please do.
little small detail, if you just make it explicit, that's going to take a lot of anxiety out of some type of players who like to, who like to build the cool characters. But if they don't know the rules yet, they can't. So just say,
Run a pre-made
do it later.
and
It's fine.
allow them to rebuild.
Yeah.
This gets a lot easier at like level 1, and if
Oh
you know
yeah,
your
for sure.
players, like for my family, I straight up was like, I know my sister likes to hit shit because she's a big beefy lady, so I'm just giving her a half orc barbarian. Here you go.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that
D
worked
and
out.
D in D&D, I would say it's not really necessary. But I mean, for example,
But
Shadowrun.
yeah, giving somebody a pre-made sheet for a
Yeah.
complex game is pretty good.
Oh yeah.
I also allow my players to respec usually once or twice. I tend to think about it like like in Fallout, where it's like, are you sure you've cleared the starter area? Are you sure? Do you want to rebuild your character or anything?
Yeah, I kind of
And I think that's pretty good.
I give people the option if they approach me if they are unhappy with something to just change it. It's basically the same thing, but I try to, the soul of the character should, of course, stay the same, but usually that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Because I know the
I
bad way to do it is in organized plays. For example, I did play a little bit of organized play in Pathfinder, and the people there, some of them would be like, yeah, you start that class, but you are allowed to respec. So at this level you do this, and then at this level you do that. These are the best builds, and then you can end on this. And I was like, what the fuck
Yeah,
is
that's too much.
no, not even that it's too much. It's also this is not role playing. Where's my character in this? I'm going from fighter to a fighter rogue to I've forgotten what it was. It was, but in the end you had magic because obviously it's Pathfinder, so magic gets really good real fast. But you didn't start with it, so what the fuck is my character even? I'm not playing a character. I'm just
Your
leveling
character and mechanics,
myself
it's
up so I can respec. Weird.
and that's just bad stuff. That's
Yeah.
just bad stuff.
Yeah, I would generally not. I've not had good experiences with organized play like that.
Me neither. I have had almost no good experience with organized play. I think I've had one,
I mean,
and that was it.
I've gotten to know a few cool people through it, but that's.
I'm gonna make myself sound really old with this one because when I was young, when I was doing organized play, it was not like Adventurers League. This was you went to an area and everybody had kind of agreed that we were in kind of a neutral setting, and every adventuring party was around. I played a lot of West
Mm-hmm.
Marches games where it was like, okay, Emery, you and Ted and Timmy and Barbara are all going to be a party this week, and for the next few weeks till we finish this adventure, you're going to be running the village of Hamlet, and we're going to be just going through it. And it's assumed that all of your characters exist in the same world and that you can party up with other people and go on an adventure and explore the ruined keep or something like that. Later, maybe you don't want to take along Tim because you don't like Tim, or maybe you just don't like Tim's orc fighter because he's an asshole. So you're gonna go get Bruce's Eladrin or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I played organized play. And then Adventurers League came along, and it feels like that meme where it's like, oh boy, here comes all of these guys, right? PC players enjoying a fine discussion about frame rate. Oh boy, here come the console players. Like that's what it felt like when Adventurers League came, and that came with fourth edition. Fourth edition
Yeah.
brought that strange, almost competitive, very very like white bread organized play that just was not fun. And so I didn't like it.
I mean,
I
if
did
you,
it once, and I hated it.
if you out there enjoy it, all the power to you. But I
All
find,
power to you.
for myself
I hope
that
you like it.
Tim the Asshole with his half orc barbarian is exactly who would go to organized play, because they couldn't really kick him out so easily. And then you have a bunch of those people, and it wasn't fun.
I tend to think about this, and I know this may be wrong, but organized play is very frequently where you are going to find people who do not have a home group because they are not pleasant people. And that is,
Yeah.
again, anecdotal, but that is where I have found a lot of people like that.
I have been in 3 total, which was after I moved to different city. I didn't have a game to play. I was like, okay, what the fuck can I do? Oh, there's organized play. Let's just. And I went there, and then I met enough people until I could make a home game.
It's very similar with like people who are critiquing and auditing your game on Reddit threads. Those are people who don't have games and don't have groups because nobody likes them.
Yeah.
They have time to sit around and audit your game because they are not running and or playing in one because nobody wants to play with them. So don't worry about it.
Indeed, it is not. I mean, again, if you enjoy it, great.
Please do.
More
power to you.
I do not enjoy it.
I would rather play with like-minded people that are kind of vetted beforehand. I want to know I like somebody, and I like hanging out with somebody for 4 hours at a time before I play D&D.
Yeah, it's I've formed all kinds of things. I mean, it's for me, it's enough if you have a shared interest, usually.
Okay.
But the less you know about people, the more vetting you'll have to do on the fly or later on, as you find out that people are not gonna gel with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so and have a good one. And I think we should also kind of wrap it at this point. It's been
I think
nearly 3
we're
hours.
good to wrap. We've been vibing for quite a long time.
We have, yes.
Had a grand time doing so. I can't wait to check out Prime Directive.
Let me just wait. So we are on the same page. For now, we would say next week Saturday, maybe.
Friend is having their debut. Yeah, I think I could do next week Saturday at about the same time.
Oh, who's having their debut? That's important.
Yes.
Because they're getting a rate now.
Indeed. Thank you for letting us know.
Okay, I might have heard of them. Let me just. Is that their whole Twitch name? Let me just. Okay. Thank you for the squats.
My eyes and tell me right now that's not made for me.
Oh.
Wait, what?
She has a very cute avatar. She's getting 10 more people or 11 more people now. I will squat.
Right now I played
and after that we raid.
I played Dragoon. That was one of my.
Go ahead, do it.
Yeah. My chair is in the way. Yeah.
Oh no.
1, 2, 3. Spasses out too much. 4. This spasses out. I don't know why. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And now, the raid.
Wonderful. Let's get to it.
Yeah, have a good one, people. I'm back tomorrow with StarCraft. A bit later than usual. You can see on my schedule.
I will not be here until Monday, however.
That's all good. And Bruce, never apologize. It's fine.
Yes.
Thank you for lurking. Ready, raid. Bye bye.
Chakrams. So moving on, I do.
Thanks, you do be cute,
let me
though.
go back to FF14 really quick. I love to raid.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
she
a
is.
Savage Raider material all the way.
It's a
full on
Sambuba.
through. I love it so much. Thank you so
That
much
is.
for the raid. Hello, hello everybody. How are you? And thank you so much for the follow,
Psycho
Nura
Pump.
and
Oh,
Art. I appreciate
nice.
it. Arigato. Welcome aboard. Thank you for
Dang.
handing me your soul.
Yeah, that's a good old
Thank you so much, Bruce, for
a
the
good
follow.
old selection
Yes,
that she's
give
got
me
there.
all your souls.
Oh, yeah.
So
The
thank you
good
for having me
of
on
you.
today. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I loved it. It was really fun. Okay.
I talk too much and I
Oh, that's
apologize.
not mood, Kazumi.
No, it's
That's not
fine.
mood.
I mean, if we both
Yes,
talk a
please
ton.
come follow the Discord. My wonderful
It's all
mods
good.
are posting
Uh,
that just because
I
I'll
will
get to it a
be.
little
Wait,
bit
let
later,
me
but it is
close
kind of
this
important.
out.
So